regular scheduled conference meeting. Adequate public notice has been provided to the public specifying the time and place of the meeting to the council in accordance with open public meetings.
I'm gonna get these to you on DVD. Yes, sir.
And posting the first floor bulletin board in City Hall and filed in the City Clerk's office on July 1st, 2006. The agenda for this meeting was mailed, posted, and filed on May 4th, 2007. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Okay.
President. Ms. Sarkeesian and Rob.
Good. She needs to be here.
President.
Here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Before we get started, I'm going to ask if we just take a moment of silence to remember two Trentonians, two very dynamic young ladies who recently lost their lives. One is first Ms. Louis Johnson, maybe you may know Sent, through various civic and charitable organizations, but as of recently Sent was very instrumental with the Stripping Families program in the Department of Human Services. Recently lost her, and we have to send our condolences to her family. We'll make sure that proper correspondence will go out to her family. Also, I want to pay our respects to Ms. Diana Cracker Amoroso. Ms. Amoroso is the co-owner and proprietor of Amoroso Florist here in the city of Trenton. To know this woman is to love her. She's a beautiful woman, and she's a story of Mr. Moore and not being able to do today. Like Palmer was the host of the city dignitaries and state county, and just family of friends. It was a true testament to her life. So we just have a moment of silence for Ms. Louis Johnson and Ms. Diana Amoroso. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we're at the 5 o'clock portion of our meeting. Dr. Rodney Lawford, Superintendent of Trenton Public Schools. Mr. Lawford.
Yes, sir.
Please have a seat out at the front desk. There. Just talking about, before you just, are we all clear for the record? Anything pressing?
No.
Good. Thank you. Dr. Lawford, for the record, I've been informed that you are under a pressing time schedule this evening for a 7 o'clock meeting.
It was actually canceled.
It was canceled? Oh, okay. Okay, well then I think...
Good for us.
You're no longer pressing.
Well, I still have a pressing issue. I have a 6:30 Little League game that I didn't think I could make, but now I can make my son's Little League game. So hopefully...
Western Little League?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think your son might be playing my daughter, or my daughter might be playing No, if you got to go to the bathroom, let me know. I'll walk with you. Let me thank you for accepting our invitation. I'm going to come before the council this evening. I did get your message and our communication with regards to the scheduling this meeting. Obviously, we know, as we know, national things have been pressed with to handle the school district. I do understand, too, also, for the record, that you are under, I guess your legal counsel has advised you with regards to any comment necessarily outside the scope of what you're presently investigating or having investigated in the district, if you want to clarify that.
Well, actually, he was more or less talking to the board, number one, and number two, what I am not going to speak about, and I definitely want to give council an update, I'm not going to speak about staff. Because we're presently continuing investigating. What I need to do is give everyone an update as far as our students concerned. We'll correct back when we have started already and what we plan to do for the future with regard to the state.
I just want to set the table, so I'll open it. Good, I'm sorry.
And also what we're going to do to help prevent this from happening in the future as well.
Okay, lastly, obviously, we recently had a school board investigation meeting, and primarily we want you to talk about the benefit of the council, your plans and aspirations to turn this budget policy into reality and what you plan on doing in the next school year in terms of improvements, upgrades to the school system in general. Before I just let Mr. Peter come to the comment real quick, you want to take an opportunity to introduce your staff that you have present?
Sure, absolutely.
I think they have all our
President, before you move anything, I want to be clear that we have an executive session tonight, don't we?
Not to my knowledge.
You asked for it.
Oh, I'm sure you did. And I didn't know we had it. I'm sorry, I didn't even look down. I only looked at the
So in that executive session, we also asked that they send a rights letter so that we could have this conversation tonight.
Was that appropriate? I don't know.
Yes.
I'm not aware. I'm asking you, is that what happened?
Yes,
Okay, is that what happened? You know?
in executive session. We understand that we can't discuss it in the
No,
open
you
session.
made a comment. I'm responding to your comment. You made a comment. I'm just saying, I don't know anything about that. I'm just saying, is that, what you're saying, is that what happened? I don't know. And was there a response to
Is that what we asked? I asked that question,
Right.
and you shook your head, okay.
No, I thought you asked that to the attorney.
I asked him about the legal piece of it,
Right, and then,
but I asked you for the executive
okay,
session.
what, was there,
Well, he don't get to make that decision. We do.
I love it.
okay, all right. With regard to school issues.
With regards to city council and that's.
Okay, oh, now I know what you're talking, okay. Well, then that's different.
No.
That's different. No, but that has nothing to do with what we're talking about right this second.
Actually, it does.
Well,
We have two different subjects.
I think we're on the same subject, we're in two different, we're talking about two different sessions,
Oh, okay.
discussion of the subject.
Okay.
So, yeah, then we'll do the executive session, yes, so you want to introduce your staff?
Yeah, well, first I want to apologize for 2 weeks ago when I was invited with the staff to come and present. But as I communicated to your office, it was an emergency situation that I could not attend to, and as you well aware of now, it's what you see before you with regard to the present issue with the Sherman case. It was first introduced to me at that time, and I was addressing and dealing with that issue at the time, so I could not make it. And I appreciate you also opening the doors again for me to be here to present.
Thank you, sir.
I again also want to thank the number of city council people who have actually given me calls and emailed me for a sign of support with regard to this issue. I really appreciate it. I received several calls and emails, and I want to thank you as well. But I will proceed in having actually the staff introduce themselves, the department and responsibilities, and I'm going to start with Dr. Williams over here.
Darwin Williams, Deputy Superintendent for School Improvement. Howard White, Office of School Safety and Security.
Good evening, Mary Burks, Coordinator Workforce Relations.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Beverly Smith. I'm a crisis counselor for Trenton Public Schools.
Good evening, my name is Doris Angel McCray. I'm with the Office of Special Education, and I'm a Special Education Counselor.
Carolyn Gibson, involved in resources. Sharon Lamore, Legal Counsel. Good evening, Joanne Blanchard, Curriculum and Instruction.
Good evening, Everett Collins, Facilities.
Nancy Swirsky, Business Administrator, Board Secretary.
Okay, I wanted to try to separate the presentation into two parts. One, of course, dealing with the Sherman Avenue case, and the second part is to actually give you a real small budget presentation. There will be some PowerPoint that you will receive, the documents. We're not going to go through every single slide, but what you will hear from some of the enhancements that the money, the budget that you're giving us and how it's encompassed within the entire budget. And there are several different departments, and if you just for clarity, there are 4 major departments here. We have school improvement, that deals with the curriculum and instruction issues. We have the business department, we have the human resource department, and we have the student service department. And student services runs the gamut from special education to guidance, and that encompasses also parent involvement. So you're going to hear a little bit about those four particular areas. It'll be a very, very brief presentation from Nancy when she shows you the PowerPoint. And then I actually, at the end of that process, you can ask specific questions with regard to those departments and areas. But first I want to talk to you about the Sherman Avenue issue. And I have to let you know from the very beginning, not only just this issue, but any other concerns that come about from construction to after construction to facilities to anything, I take it as my responsibility. It's my concern whether or not someone did it in the past. It is something that I must tackle and address. I was hired here with a major issue about accountability and responsibility, and I take that upon myself very seriously. It's going to take a while to not only address this issue, but to address the many concerns and issues that come. But when I say a while, that means immediately and now. I pride myself in fast, highly exhilarated change, and that's what I'm about to do to fix it. So when I look at this issue, I look at all the other issues from the curriculum to the education of the students. There's three parts. It's to analyze and look at what we have and the concerns that we have, make sure that these things don't happen by having a process and procedure in place. Where we are with the Sherman, just to give you some numbers and some data, we have found that there were approximately 126 students that were in that building during that time of initiation with regard to the courses. And so we can understand what the issue was. It had nothing to do with grades. You see in the newspaper they talk about grades. This was really about the changing of a course description, that students were given credit for a course they did not take. So, for example, some students took Algebra 1 twice. They took it in freshman year and passed it, and took it the second year, Algebra 1, and passed it. Or some students were given credit for a class that they received independent studies for, but independent studies in 6 weeks is not allowed by the state. So that although there was some kind of corrective action done during the time, it was not appropriate for the students to earn the kind of credit they needed to really satisfy their graduation. In looking at the beginning, we wanted to first look at the seniors because they would be up for graduation. Looking at the number of seniors is based on credits. And we found that they were, out of the 126, 55 students are close to being eligible, meaning based on this current semester and the past semester, we have 55 students that are actually eligible to graduate this year. In that 55, there are a number of students that actually the situation that occurred at Sherman Avenue, 16 of them will not be affected at all. They have no effect on them because in our district you earn 160 credits. You have an option to earn 160 credits. You need 120 credits to graduate. So many of these students already have 100 and 140 credits. They've already satisfied the requirements as far as the number of literature classes, English classes, math classes. So you have a large group, 16, that will not be affected at all. You also have a number of students that are so far away from completing, meaning that if they fail anything this semester or anything the semester last semester in the fall, they will absolutely not. And we've already checked the records, and some of these students have failed already, so they really don't have a chance. So based on the final numbers, there are actually really 28 students that are seriously affected by the issue that dealt with Sherman Avenue. And one of the concerns I had was that we have approximately May and June, well, actually mid-May, we have about 6 weeks to go, and that there are some options that the state gives us to avail ourselves of helping to make these students whole. But the problem was that the state was requiring that a corrective action plan be sent to the district. Then the district would sit on and look at the corrective action plan and approve it. Then that would go to the state for final approval. And that could take, as you may well know, very, very long time. So I actually called Dr. Penelope Lattimore, who said to me that she would allow us to document and put together a one-page letter that if it has all the ingredients of a corrective action, she would sign off immediately, and that she would let us proceed from this point now, instead of waiting for the corrective action plan to take its cycle, normal cycle. We still have to do a corrective action plan because one of the major components of this situation at Sherman is making sure that we have a system in place that will prevent this from happening. And I'm going to talk about that shortly. But the corrective action plan has 3 major components on it. We were first, one of the major things is we must inform the parents. So we sent out a letter on April 30th informing all of the 126 parents of the fact that we were looking at records and investigating. Then on May 2nd, we sent specific letters to those individual 55 students to let them know that we are going to have a parent meeting, sitting down with the parents to engage them in conversations so they can be well aware exactly what their child will need to graduate. In addition to the guidance counselors who have met with the students already last week to tell the students exactly what they needed. The students will have 3 options. One option is summer school. The summer school option, so you'll know, is only available to students who have failed a course before. They cannot take a new course in summer school. So many of the students will not be eligible to take a summer school course to make up for the time. But the other 2 options that are available are an internet course that we have and also a college course. What that means is that students can enroll this summer taking a college course that will both give them credit for their future and the past that was affected. And the school district has to be responsible for any cost that any of these programs will entail. But this doesn't stop here. At the same time, as you may know, that the board has hired and will be hiring, an investigator to look both at the staffing issue and also to have and hire some retired guidance counselors to look at the transcripts issue. But Dr. Blanchard, her requirement, she's in charge of curriculum instruction, is to put together a corrective action plan for the state. So we're not waiting for an outside investigator to make or help us in this process. She has currently began that process by meeting with the technology company that we utilize for our transcripts, which is one of the major issues here. One of the things that we find is that there are too many people that have access to change things. And so we want to make sure that we institute the software that we have that has availability to, number one, not only stop people from entering information, but also evaluate who is entering the information and when they're entering the information. So we are currently doing that. That is pretty much almost done at this point. She's been meeting with them every day since this issue occurred. And she had began that process at the beginning of the year. So this wasn't new as a result of this information. This was something that she had began early on. We just speeded up the process in regard to that because this is something that's been in the system for quite some time and everybody has access to change certain things. And we want to try to slow that process up. At this time, I really don't have any more information other than that. We are constantly meeting. We meet every single day. I let you know that because I can't talk about staffing issues at this point, but we are making sure that we put everything in place and have a process that's documented and supported, and that we will be looking not only to support from the board, but we also look for support from the community and city council. I mean, you're the eyes and ears of the community. One thing that we realized from this whole thing is that when people's voices are heard, we need to listen to what they are, and we need to really take account for when people are speaking. I will continue to have an open door policy where people, if they have comments, I have emails always available. My staff's emails are always available, so people can always, if they feel that they don't want to make a phone call, they want to make an anonymous letter, as we receive on a number of occasions, we're more than willing. So at that, I want to,
So then please move on to the next portion. Can we open up to my colleagues to see if they have any? Well, just see if anyone has any questions with regards just to the information that you communicated to us thus far with regards to Mr. Thayer, yes sir, okay. You said that you want to work with city council because when I saw you on TV about at a school board meeting, you made the statement that no politician can tell you what to do or something of that nature.
Yes, sir.
Can you clarify that for me, sir?
Well, I would think that I'm hired by the city to run the school district. And so that if somebody tells me I need to fire or terminate somebody, I think that's my decision. That's what I was speaking about.
Oh, okay, because you were not clear on that.
Well, no, I think I was very clear that there was something in the newspaper that someone mentioned that I should terminate or fire an employee. And I came back and said that as I was hired as a superintendent to be responsible for not only the academic approval or the safety and academics of the students, but also to make sure that I am responsible for supervising the staff. So that was what my statement was.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
I'm clear on that now.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned an investigation. What is the scope of this investigation that you mentioned? You said that you're going to hire some consultants to conduct an investigation regarding, you mentioned investigation and hiring personnel. Did I miss that? No,
you didn't miss anything, but that is something that I am not open to speak about because that's something that's outside the scope of what I'm doing inside. Okay. Thank you.
But it would have to, okay. I thought it would be an in-house investigation.
I'm doing my own. I have my own staff. See, we can't wait for an outside entity to tell us that this is wrong, this is wrong. That's probably part of some of the problems is that the Department of Education report came a year later. You understand what I'm saying? So we can't sit back and wait for another report or another outside. We have to fix this situation now. So I have to utilize Dr. Blanchard and her staff to continue to look at the transcripts of these students, to continue to come up with some ideas on how to fix it and to really make these students whole. So I can't sit back and wait.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'm clear on that. Yeah. Now the other thing, just two more questions. The other thing, sir, since you came to the district, I heard you mention that public safety was one of your concerns. but I have not had any clear or have heard you elaborate on your vision for the Trenton Public School System. Now, we all know that the Trenton Public, we have lagging test scores, we have high rates of dropouts, we have even a safety issue. Can you share with me briefly, or share with us briefly, what is your vision for the Trenton Public School System?
That's part of part two, because what I was trying to deliver
And I
was...
went to part two.
Absolutely.
It was regarding Sherman Avenue. Let's talk about school.
My pants are now with
Mr. Costin, followed by Mr. Cruz. Yes, sir, and yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate, this is your mess to clean up, but I appreciate the way you grabbed the mouth and something the best you can. Even with the, with Trenton for how long? 6 months or something. You gonna make it 7? We lost 2 good directors, at the 6-month period. No doubt.
I'm not going anywhere, sir.
Glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. Just a comment. Since the state's done an investigation, and you may not be able to comment on this. If you can, please do that. It seems kind of a waste of money to hire someone else to do another investigation since the state has done it. How does it come to that? Fair enough. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Scott. Ms. Martique, followed by Mr. Malone. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
President, as it relates to Sherman Avenue, I am going to be looking for the scope of the investigation in the executive session. That's the only way I'm going to have a clear understanding of where he's going to go and what he's going to be doing in this investigation. The other thing is, what's your timeline on this investigation, Mr. Moore?
I'm not conducting the investigation. I just want to be clear.
You are directing it, aren't you?
The board is directing the investigation.
Okay. I'd like at some point in the future, Mr. President, a
Yes, ma'am.
timeline. And I'd also like to make clear at this time that there are going to be other things that I'm going to be looking for, but I will reserve them for the executive session. The other thing
I want to clarify. We do have a responsibility, though. We have a deadline of June 4th by the state for corrective action.
there you go.
But when you talk about investigation, I'm thinking there are 2 different things going on. My purpose in being here is to address the educational wholeness of these students, and that's what I'm focusing on here. So I don't want to say that nothing is happening as far as we're concerned. We are doing, as I said already, June 4th is our date. We have to have a corrective action plan. What I was saying is I'm not waiting for that date. I am fixing the system now.
Okay. So they're asking for a June 4th date, just so I'm clear.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
have
have a
to.
correction action plan in place?
I have to submit it to the board. The board has to approve it, and then it has to go to the state president.
As part of one of your, I think what you guys refer to as, over at the board of your file codes, file code 1100, and communicating with the public, especially I'm going to ask at this time that you reach out once that corrective action plan is reviewed by the board and get a copy to this board. Because I want to be emphatic and clear that you have been hired to be the superintendent of Trenton Public Schools, and Trenton Public Schools and its boards are autonomous except in matters affecting the city as a whole. This affects the city as a whole. So in the executive session, I'm going to be looking for a little bit more. I understand some of your reservations at this point with respect to discussion and staff, but I want you to know going in, I'm looking for a little bit more than the wholeness of it all. Okay?
You can have any, when I'm working on this, you can have any information dealing with the students, but I'm not, I can't release anything to you on staff. I guess your attorney is working on that part for you, right?
My attorney is working on, he's not my attorney.
I mean,
Clear
I'm
that
talking
up,
about,
first of all.
I'm sorry, I just heard you refer to the attorney.
He's just sitting consulting.
Okay.
He's not the counsel.
All right.
He's the administration's attorney.
Okay.
He's working on some information for us, but when we're in executive session, we're going in executive session with you, am I correct, sir? Are we going in executive
Well,
session with the superintendent?
I just asked when the superintendent, I believe, he's going to take the session with us.
Y'all should have figured this out before we got here.
Tell you that I didn't notify him to the extent other than the superintendent conducted. Okay, now, because, and that's what I was saying, we have to, case, I don't want to miss that was learned, but you can clarify why I can't do it.
Executive session,
That involves the board, and the board is
It's
on.
an executive session of city council. City council administration is what the city government, but that's as far as it goes. You go beyond that, and outside the city government, then it's public meeting. Everyone's. You're not selectively including people in the executive session.
Okay, we're gonna have to do a little bit more work then, because you're here tonight, we have this gentleman here tonight, and it's not simply to give us the whole list of the Sherman Avenue issue. It's for a lot of other issues that you are obviously not gonna be able to answer.
Well, I'm going to be able to answer the question that was posed to me. If I answer that question, I think you'll be in a better position to answer questions there. But we haven't had the executive session yet, which I have reserved.
Mr. President, you might wanna do that, because we're gonna be stepping into some things here that perhaps we should. And he is, you know, legal consultant.
The first thing, like Mr. Superintendent Lofton said, that he was only privy to share to the extent of what he would share with regards to Sherman Avenue, and then he was not going to speak specifically to staffing issues. And there was, if I'm clear,
That's
to
exactly
what
right.
you
Yes,
said.
sir.
Then as far as I'm concerned, there's no reason for me to do
Well,
that.
that's not true, because he was originally invited here because of the request of Mr. Bethea. And yourself, Mr. Bethea mentioned to the fact that the school board of estimate met, and we approved the school budget, and that he would like the superintendent to come before council.
But I was clear about the reason I wanted him to do that for council.
Right, and he's addressed that. He's addressed
No,
that.
actually, he has.
No, he's addressed it to the extent that I
He's
believe.
not gonna address it.
Okay, well, he's not going to address, he's addressed to the extent that he feels that he can address those issues, and,
So then my question is, Mr. President, wouldn't we best be served to have this short executive session to get some advice before we move further in asking anything else?
well, there's still other members who may have questions
I mean,
in regards to
any
the
members.
presentation. I mean, we still have an executive session, that's not an issue, we still have an executive session. You still have the floor? Mr. Malone, followed by Mr. Segura.
Yes, I just need one clarification. First, you had stated, outside of the independent investigation, that you would be conducting an investigation internally. Councilwoman Lartigue just asked a similar question, and you stated the board was conducting the investigation. Who is actually conducting the internal investigation?
I'm doing my own internal investigation with staff members from my office.
Okay.
That we can be prepared to submit a CAT plan for corrective action plan.
Okay.
That really is what
So
I'm...
there are actually 3 investigations then, the board? Your own internal as far as administrative, and then 1 outside agency?
The outside agency has been completed. That's the Department of Education.
Correct.
That's finishing completed. The board has made a request that they want to have, independent of us,
They will be hiring an outside
That's exactly
agency
right.
to conduct.
and
Okay.
then I have enough documentation with regard to the Department of Education for me to do my internals.
Okay.
So for me to create procedures and processes for the future to make sure that we've made these students whole and given them the education that they deserve, and to move forward from there. So I'm comfortable with my staff doing it. I'm not hiring an outside. I have more than enough issues that the state has outlined for me to address at hand.
Well, see, my feeling always is if the staff is not able to investigate and determine what a problem is and take a corrective measure, then the staff should not be in the positions they're in. No one knows their job better. But in a situation like this, an outside agency looking in is welcome. Thanks for the clarification.
Mr. Segura, followed by Ms. Sue.
I don't have much, but just talk to him. I know that you have inherited national fire pressure situation coming into our city and through the educational system. However, as you pointed out, this body here, it is the eyes of the community. You as an administrator of the school, you don't hear the things and see the things that you see. Because actually, all the complaints that come on to all of us, and we are the one that have to also inherit the problem that were inherited by you, inherited by our school. So I am very interested actually in the outcome, of all the things that are happening right now, because it's very disheartening, to find, that so many kids being put in danger, their future is actually in danger. So for that matter, I think that, the corrective action that you might take, it is one that you are in a very good position with your staff, to actually starting to move into the right direction. And I don't think that this body here, speaking for myself, here to crucify you or anyone in your staff, but it's actually to work with me and to do the things that we need to do, because we all extremely, concerned and care about the future of our kids.
I appreciate that.
So just move on and see, where we can form somewhat of an effort, team effort, team effort, to what we got to do. So please do, advise us of all of these and do and whatever, corrective action that you might be taking. So I have it.
Thank you, Mr. Segura. Ms. Staten, yes, ma'am.
Mr. President, I want to come back.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me ask you something. I'll come right back to you. Okay.
I'm done.
I just want to put what I think you said in perspective with regard to this whole Sherman Avenue 9th grade appeal program, that it impacted on 126 students.
No, it was 126 students there at the time.
At school, okay.
What we did was analyze the data to look at the number of students that had enough credits to be considered seniors right now. So there is, if you do the math, 71 students that we have not addressed at this time. We wanted to first do a thorough analysis of the students that had enough credits to be able to graduate this year. So those other students are deficient of so many credits that no matter what happened back then, they would not be able to graduate this year.
Okay. Let's start right there and work backwards. We talked about that prior to the public notification of this whole Sherman Avenue fiasco, for the record, that the board was working on a policy in regards to limiting access, some software package to limit access to information.
So what I was saying was Dr. Blanchard had been working through SASE already to look at other ways of because there were a number of issues in the system even before this. It's
holistically.
Yeah, like bigger than the conversation could, as far as this conversation can hold. But some simple things that had not been used that we are going to utilize is access to the system. It's kind of hard to say no access because, number one, guidance counselors have to have some access to the system. We just have to make sure that when a person is into the system, that there is notification who that is that's making the changes and why. So there should be some documentation that follows.
So my two questions is, one, do you have no idea at present who has access to information with regards to courses and student
So
training?
we definitely do have that. We do have that. We definitely know.
So without naming any individuals, I don't want to cross your threshold with staff, you know who had access to information?
I don't want to get into that.
Okay.
You're talking about staffing again. I know you're not talking about names.
I'm not asking you a staffing
because
question. I just asked.
What happens is because it was limited to a number of people, when you say a person,
Right, so
you automatically figure out who it is.
I'm not going to figure that. You already had limited, some knowledge of the limited persons who had access to that information. It's just a question.
That's right.
It's going to open. Yes, I do have knowledge. I have some knowledge.
I'm not going beyond that. Okay. I'm not going beyond that. But it behooves me to believe that someone has access to information, and there's no record of it, or I would hope you would find out at the least. Paul has access to change transcripts, or information in my computer system, which now you're working on to limit, and or to identify who has access.
Yes.
Okay. That was my question. My next question to you with regards to Sherman Avenue, and let's just bungle a couple things. Kilmer School, and all the issues of Kilmer School specifically that we've heard from the beginning of the year. Jefferson School, and like Mr. Segura said, we hear a whole bunch of issues. I would think that it would behoove you to share some of the things that Mr. Malone said with the internal investigation aspect. Is who's checking the chicken coop here? Who's checking who? And someone who's doing the check-in is checking somebody who probably checked the system, did something inside. So, at some point in time, have you, or should you, or can I recommend that you give some consideration perhaps to an inspector general or someone with the capacity independently to investigate complaints brought to the district internally? Good, bad, happy, sad, frivolous or not? Someone who...
The answer is absolutely. I believe the system needs a
checker,
compliance officer, quality manager.
So is it clear that that is not in place right now?
That is definitely not in place.
So then let me back up and I'm not trying to...
And I have to tell you, I made the recommendation to the board already, and they absolutely agree with what we're hearing here today. Finding that person, I'm going to solicit the city council.
No.
No.
Okay, I want to make sure you
clarify. What I'm
that.
saying is, one of the issues that I'm finding in recruiting quality candidates, I'm not familiar with, when I do solicit to open up positions, we're not getting a lot of people coming to knock down the door to be here in Trenton.
Okay. You know what? I don't want to get into the hiring practice. You don't have the scope that we have here in the city of Trenton with regards to residency and service, and your doors are open. You can hire someone from California. I'm not going to say Philadelphia, but you have options. You have many more options, and to hire someone. Mr. Thing, I know you're biting. John. I always let you go. But I got to pull it right this second. I swear I give you thanks. With regards to the highest ethic, highest professional values, someone who you can deem, and this board, and this community can deem above reproach, to look at issues independently. Because you made a comment with regards, and I'm only going by what you said, with regards, you have a suggestion mailbox, your door is open, people can always have some type of contact with you and or the board. But that contact with you means nothing if no action or no response is given back. We're solicited all the time at every public meeting. We try our best to give some value of information. And if we don't know, we'll say, we'll get back with you. One of the complaints we hear, and I'm not pointing fingers, but I'm being holistically in terms of the system, that things are brought before the board and or the superintendent, past, present, and there's no response to it. And that will be almost a no-no in these chambers because of the level of accountability that we're expected to give each and every time we meet publicly and in the city, throughout the city community as well. So I just would encourage you to strongly look at that individual of high caliber and roll that person out to the best of your ability expediently to try to handle and get a grip on some of these issues, because it's these issues today. I don't even want to guarantee that there'll be some more issues tomorrow, but we might have another flood in the training too. It's a possibility. Okay, so I did want to say that for the record. Now you also mentioned that at least 16 students will not be impacted upon all this stuff?
Yes, because they have more than enough credit.
As a result,
even though they were
of participating in the Sherman Avenue program?
No. Even though we subtracted those credits, and so they have more than enough credits. Remember, students can earn up to 160 in their 4 years here.
Right. Okay.
It's required 120. The state only requires 110.
All right. Well, this is not a personnel issue. So clearly there were students in the 9th grade repeater program that should not have been there. Is that a fair assumption? That's not a personnel question.
No, I mean, well, they should absolutely. No, well, they did have something that they needed to repeat. Did that help you?
No.
They were there. Some students probably should not have been there, but there were some students.
I think that's what I was looking for.
I don't have that answer yet.
No.
I don't have that answer.
I
don't have the exact answer to say there were students there that shouldn't have been there. I don't have that yet.
Or in my book, they accumulate 160 credits with a minimum of 120 credits needed. You got some leeway. You have some leeway where a kid can repeat a course, be a summer school. It doesn't necessarily constitute that an individual perhaps needed to go back into a repeater program. Or, I even like the suggestions you talked about, the internet courses, or maybe preparing them for advanced college courses, or so forth. And you have to understand, this is bigger than you, Mr. Love, and that's why
I'm taking responsibility for it.
Holy hell here.
I take entire responsibility, even though it wasn't under my tutelage. I take responsibility to fix it. Just to give you some examples, some systems in New Jersey allow for students to take repeater courses and get credits for it and use it for elective credits.
Repeater courses or
they can take a course, take it over the following year, even though they've earned credits to move forward, but they can't use it as a required course. They use it as an elective.
Okay, let me limit my last comment here, and I appreciate you coming here, and I appreciate you standing in the hot because it's hot. I can call it the Budweiser happy, but it's not. But I would say to you right now, this day and this time, as you go back to the board, as you talk to your administration, as you put the word out to your teachers and guidance counselors, that social promotion will stop here and now. Period. And only students who are prepared academically, who have met the threshold of the 120, the necessary credit they need to move forward, will be committed to advance. Now, I don't know if you put your name on that, you stamp that, you put that in a software package, email it, but somehow, some way, that needs to be communicated to everyone who falls under the tutelage. Well, the administrative team as well, included. Okay, so, at that point, I know you're limited to what you can say, and I respect that, but we will look forward to the information that you will compile, that I believe that you said you will make public. Yes. And if you, just as an invitation, if you just give that information to us, or email it to us, or send it to us, or come back with it, and beat us to the request necessary, and allow us if we have any questions to follow up. Let me do this thing. Mr. Ortiz did ask for a follow-up, and Mr. Clay asked for a follow-up, and then I'd like to move to the second portion of the presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Lofton, I want to be emphatic. The West Ward wants to be in partnership with you to improve the Trenton Public School System. We're looking forward to a corrective action plan together, the community is, and we're looking forward to reform without parachutes. And as you take on this fight, because that's what it's going to be, change is difficult. I want you to understand, I'm not a newcomer to this. You've been in education for a while, and I'm taking up to that conversation. I'm coming to you probably from one of the most different perspectives than most of the conversation you're going to have. And that is, my kids were in the Trenton Public School System. They graduated from it. I have kids, nieces and nephews who are currently in the system. And I just want you to know that there are a lot of parents who want to be in this with you. I'm speaking for West Ward residents. They want to be with you. They have the desire to be with you for the change. I want you to know that you have some phenomenal resources in the school system. I know that. I can list a bunch of teachers who have been fantastic. And so in telling you that, I want you to understand that your resources, your students, your teachers, and some of your principals are phenomenal in what they do. But you've got to let them to the table. You have to let them come to the table. See, what typically happens in an organization much like yours and ours is a few people get to make all the decisions. The teachers are the front line. They've got to be there. They're the eyes, the ears, the knowledge, the skill, and the ability. When I was a kid, a principal coming into the classroom was an exciting time. We all wanted to be pleasing at that time, not just with our teacher, but to show off for our principal. I think that some of those things have to happen a little bit more. We've got to get a little bit more grounded. We got a lot of critics, a lot of critics. all right? But that's because the school system, very much like this administration, does not do a good job of showcasing the work that they've done. That doesn't mean you don't have problems. You got a lot of problems. You have many problems. But here's what I know for sure. You bring the teachers to the table. You include this table, as you say, see in your 1100, whatever you call it, see they got all these little things on your website that speaks to the board's policies, their mandates, the things that they're monitoring and things of that nature. I think 1100 speaks to community involvement. Involve the community. Be committed to that. And I guarantee you, see all these folks running their mouths, their kids haven't been in that system. So they don't know about some of the great teachers in there. See, a lot of people running their mouths, they don't know that you have some phenomenal principals as well, who do enter the classroom, who do take the time. But then you got some folks you need to get rid of. And as an elected official, with my community standing behind me, I'm asking you to take a look at that. You don't want to discuss it, but Mr. President, thank you for allowing me the opportunity, because I'm going to. I'd like to ask you to examine all credentials. Don't be afraid. You're in a fight. You're going into that fight. I'm asking you to get into it, and I'm guaranteeing you that the people who are committed to this system and these students will be right behind you when you turn around. You will not be sucker punched. The community will be with you. The idea is that no parent cares. That's not true. There's parents in here tonight who care. There are parents who have been involved for a very long, that's right, Corinne Groom. There's many more like her. You have a parent over here. There are parents who have been involved. See, look, here's what's important. That together, I will not, my community will not be shut out of this process. So I'm real happy to hear you say that you want to involve us, because we want to be a part of it. I want you to know that if you think a little bit non-traditional, you think outside the walls of the Board of Education, and include the teachers at the table in your community, I guarantee you're going to be able to deal with some of this parental apathy, because that is also a big issue. But see, folks sometimes don't understand that. They want this body, they want that administration to be responsible for their kid getting a good night's sleep, for their kid being well fed and prepared to learn when they go to school, and that's just not the way it happens. But there are a lot of parents who do that. Partner with them, be with them, and don't leave the teachers out. I'm a strong advocate for teacher participation because I know that there are times when people rise through the ranks and they get to the top, they forget what it was like to be in that classroom. They forget that the students on an average day can at best be challenging. They forget that their presence is needed right there with that kid who is struggling. They forget. And take care of the principals who are good. Let them speak.
Messing up my presentation for a second.
They've been stifled so long.
I'm going to talk about the parent involvement and parent engagement process. I'm going to talk about coaching and working with teachers.
I want the coaches for the teachers.
That's what this is
I
about.
can read your mind. I told you that a long time ago. I want the teachers to have coaches. But why don't you try this? Why don't you try some volunteers from the community who will coach just math, reading, and writing. If a kid can read, they'll write. Every kid has to be able to read at grade level. I gave you some of that information. Now, I've been a teacher for a short period of time, and my kids have been in the system. So I do have something to say with some background. And you will hear it. Trust me. I know what it is. Okay? Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Thank you very much, Mr. Bethea. Yes, sir.
Mr. President, I'd like to yield to my distinguished colleague from the South.
Okay. What's their name? Yes, sir, Mr. Costa.
Superintendent, the 28 that you're doing this account for, chances are not all 28 are going to be able to fill the requirements prior to graduation. Have you got something in mind?
Well, part of the 28, they have a responsibility as well. Even though we made a problem, we caused a problem, they have to pass this semester, or even what we fix is not going to help them. That's true. But we do have that internet option. An internet course is not an easy thing. So people think it's an internet course is very lackadaisical. It's not. they do have summer school, and they do have an opportunity for college courses. So we're giving them 3 options available to them. If that doesn't work out and they have to continue on in September, we're going to give them additional support during that time.
I'm also, and this, I don't expect you to answer this, also a bit underwhelmed with the board is directing an investigation. My understanding in February of '06, they were provided documentation that regarding Sherman Avenue that the house is on fire. It seems strange to me that 15 months later they're going to want to investigate why it burned down. And I'm also concerned that the 3 of the folks who voted against doing an investigation in February of '06 are part of the investigation 15 months since. That's a concern. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Superintendent, can we clear up, Superintendent Walker, can you clear up one thing for me? This individual you're going to hire, I imagine, for lack of a better term, an inspector general, this individual will report directly to you, or what's the chain of command?
It will report directly to me.
Just directly to you.
Absolutely. And part of what I'm looking for, there have been a number of audits already, not just state audits, but we've had a number of audits from what they call a QSAC audit. We have capital audits. We've had a financial audit. And when I look at the records and look at the former audits that we've had, it seems like we're still doing the same issue. And so I need not only someone to look at these audits, but we need to have a corrective action plan that is actually working, a document that makes it easy and user-friendly for everybody to do. So that's what I'm looking for.
Correct me if I'm wrong, one of the school board meetings, you said you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, and you're not expecting a favorable report from QSAC.
Am I not expecting the favorable report?
You said you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, and it's not going to be favorable.
I would say that a number of issues have already come to me from them that we're missing documents and reports. So I would suspect that it's not going to be an exemplary situation. Part of the problem, number one, with the state is that they started a process that they haven't really fine-tuned, and they're really using, I hate to say this, Trenton as an example, so to speak, where other districts will have a chance to correct those issues with regard to the report. We never really received a full document prior to even having the process to give us the opportunity and time to make those corrective measures prior to the actual audit.
So you're making preparation now to anticipate this report.
I'm anticipating the report coming soon.
But you're not expecting a favorable report. So you're in the process of now developing a corrective action program for the report you're going to get.
Well, and this is another thing. Most of the time,
You're playing chess.
Well, yeah. What happens is usually states, when they go into an audit, so you'll know, they usually give you 30 days to correct the issues. Meaning they say, you didn't have this, you didn't have this, so they give you time. This process is not allowing you to correct the issues or concerns that they see. So, but to answer your question, we are fixing the ones that were reported. They haven't finished the process, but they would say to us, Mr. Lofton, you should have this, and so I'm fixing those issues as we move along.
And when do you expect the report, sir?
Does anybody remember what day they said? I have no idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Lofton, I'm going to let you move into the next presentation, but in a real nutshell, and this is real issue for the record, with regards to your relationship to the board, specifically, I'll ask questions. You handle the day-to-day operation of the Trenton Board of Education?
Yes, I do.
I don't want to sound facetious, but I want to make sure I'm clear. And then the board is charged with, to your knowledge, fiduciary responsibilities, oversight, making policy or
creating the policy. We follow out on the policies and create the procedures for the policy.
Okay. That's clear. That's clear for now. Part 2, yes, sir.
I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Rand, and then you'll have several people kind of speaking with regard to certain issues. Probably what the focus should be for the group here is the enhancements. What are we trying to do to improve the system? And what is this money that you allow us to work with? How is that money being used to improve the system? So that's what you will really, even though the slides didn't go through a lot of numbers, we're going to pass through that very quickly so that you can get to the meat and potatoes of it. And that's what most of the people you see here will jump in with regard to those particular enhancements that you have in the system.
For the record, there should be a copy of the budget in everyone's packet. you should have a copy of the budget. Chair will get a copy of that for the record. It should be entitled Board of School Estimate Meeting, April 24th, 2007.
No, I'm not going anywhere.
And it'll have all the information with regards to the budget, what was discussed at that meeting. Should be a part of your comments. Yes, sir.
Durant?
I'm listening, I was looking on my list for Mr. Durant, and maybe I'm
That's another person I'll have with me, Nancy Durant.
Like, what about person?
How you doing, sir?
Mr. Purchase, please state your name and title for the record, please.
Nancy Swirsky, Trenton Board of Education Administrative Board Secretary.
Yes, ma'am.
I have made copies. If you did not get a chance of seeing the budget presentation, I made copies of the presentation to pass out. I have 25 copies.
Ms. Worthy, if I can help, in trying to expedite your portion of the presentation, if you can tell us pretty much the budget from a policy standpoint, I don't know Lawson, but if you tell us the impact of the budget, what will the budget do in the upcoming school year, and what impact will it have? I think that's pretty much, unless members didn't have any questions they want to ask specifically.
What we did this year is rather unique. I have to tell you that it's been an absolute pleasure working with Mr. Lofton and the cabinet, how he's brought us all together with the intent of making changes in the district and moving forward. And this budget is really unique because it really was a budget put together with the entire cabinet and input from a lot of different people in the district. Basically, we're going to try to improve student achievement via data-driven instructional design, which is Dr. Blanchard's area. And of course, our educational goals is to be in compliance, as he just mentioned to you, the CUSA Act, that is the big state document that's going to cause us to be in compliance. And then in slide 3, I just listed some of the problems that we had to face this year. Collective bargaining agreements, we have increases in health benefits, mandated tuition, special education, fixed cost repairs, 2 new charter schools, and then we, so far, not getting
You're on
any
page
funding
3. She's on page 3.
Yes, sir. We're following.
Okay.
of the new facility, which is the new Packer School. That is still being discussed at the state level. They have not informed us if we're going to get additional funding for that. I hope we do, because it's very expensive to run these schools. If you look at slide number 4, this is basically what we looked at to include for new staffing in the position. We're looking at full-time parent liaisons in every school. 24 coaches, 12 in language arts and 12 in math. 10 classroom specialists, adding bilingual ESL, special ed, librarian and nurses, disciplinarians, paraprofessionals, security guards, and secretaries. If you look at slide 5, here's our major goals and plans, and then I listed what the other attachments will be, which will be the revenue projections and the appropriation projections. I just broke it down in that manner. So the major initiatives are on page 6. We have 3 strategic initiatives that support the student achievement. More school-level instructional support. A lot of that is driven from our CAPA reports that we're getting directly from the state. More support for families and helping the students succeed. We're really looking forward to having a full-time paraprofessionals in every school building. That's including annexes. It's important that we have that individual, that parent, work with the community. We need help with them to get the free and reduced lunch applications completed, so that would help us get more income for our nutrition services and also for our Medicaid reimbursement plan. There's a lot of paperwork that if we don't have the parents sign off, we can't get the funding. So this is going to be an important position. We feel it will pay for itself. And then there's increases in the school and student safety efforts. As you're aware, graciously gave us over $1 million last year. We're working on putting in the card IDs for everybody in the whole district. We've done all the high schools, and we've done Hedgebeck Williams, and we're now moving into the second phase, additional schools.
What is that? No, I was going to say, I don't want to slide by that.
What I wanted to do is the specific pages, which is 7.
What we'll talk to
Right, we'll detail those 3 items, and we'll let the people from those departments speak on them. And then there was a council member who actually had specific questions, and they emailed me a long time ago that we also want to try to make sure those questions are incorporated, so when they present, we'll have those answers within those present. So we can let the people on start on page 7, and that would be Dr. Blanchard.
Dr. Blanchard,
For the
do you
record,
have a copy? Page
Come
7
over
is
here.
really the area that you're working
Here you
on.
go. Here you go. Thank you.
So each person, Mike, can you just state your name and title for the record, so we can hear you clearly, so that members of the public will know?
Can I stand here?
Yes, ma'am, Dr. Blanchard.
I am Joanne Blanchard, responsible for curriculum and instruction within the Trenton Public
Thank you
Schools.
for sitting down. I know you guys are used to standing up at the platform.
Yeah.
The podium,
And I'm not very tall.
and we didn't ask you to bring the podium over today. So, yes, ma'am.
Well, what's it going to be exciting about what's going on today? We have started our curriculum mapping process. We have hired a company called Performance Pathways. We have teachers, all levels, are literacy specialists, math specialists, bilingual specialists, early intervention specialists, reading first specialists in our cyberspace class. Oh, yes.
Dr. Blanchard, let me do this. I don't want to assume that I know you, and I don't want the public to assume that they know you.
Okay.
Tell us who you are, what you do at the Board of Education.
I
So,
am-
so as you're talking, we can put into perspective that this is going to be presented.
My name is Joanne Blanchard. I am the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction for the Trenton Public Schools. Started November, and since November, I have been in the process of doing my own curriculum audit and assessment, looking at our shortcomings, analyzing the data. What is the data telling us? Taking corrective action planning based on the data. Our literacy scores, our math scores, the state assessments, the Terra Nova, all of those are variables, but the other things that are variables are our resources. How are we allocating our resources in terms of textbooks? Our teachers need support. So Superintendent Lofton's big initiative is having our coaches in our district. What will the coaches do? Help develop the curriculum in terms of its pacing guides. What do the teachers teach? There is a state assessment in March. How do we prepare our students to do the best they can on the assessment? You don't teach a student about apples and test them on oranges. You have to comprehensively look at the requirements of the test. Back benchmark means give them all the things that they're supposed to have and expose them to them so that they'll be prepared for the test. Our challenge is we have been engaged prior to each school having their own ways of dealing with instruction. They each had different whole school reform models. Now we're in the process of having a district-driven curriculum. So we're in the process of changing a culture, a methodology, curriculum, how you deal with students, and looking at the entire instructional engagement process. So, all those stakeholders are now involved, except for the parents, which in hearing you today, I'm saying there's no reason why we can't have parental representation on this curriculum development process that we're going through now. So I'm going to address that issue. We've had a display in Trenton of all of the curriculum products that we utilize, that you've purchased, that you've agreed for us. So parents and stakeholders can come, pick them up, use them, and it's been a very interesting response because some parents have actually asked, can they purchase additional books, which I thought was interesting. So now With the coaches, what the coaches are going to do, they're not going to be evaluating teachers. What they're going to do is support them in the delivery of our curriculum, because we're going to have writing across all content areas. Everything our students are going to be doing, there's going to be a writing component. From that, we've purchased a software called Criterion. It's going to be for the secondary. It's web-based. The student can do it at home, a friend's house. The teacher gives a written assignment. It constantly gives that student feedback. Because when a teacher is engaged in instruction in the classroom, a lot of things happen. There can be behavior problems, medical issues, all kinds of things. But you have to have instruction aligned around the room to address the different needs that are going on in that classroom. So what Criterion is going to do for us is allow for the assignment to go forth on the secondary level. And then that student will get feedback, and they'll keep taking that corrective action until they are proficient. So that's going to help the teacher. And our study trips are now going to have writing assignments with them, and they're going to utilize the Criterion on the secondary level. On the elementary level, we're going to be utilizing a software called My Study Island. And it prepares our students for the NJF and the GEPA and the HESPA, so that students will constantly have that exposure, even if they don't get that exposure in the classroom or at home. We're working with our parents. In our parent resource room, all of the curriculum products that we have are in the parent resource room with a computer, so that they can go down and at least look at it. If they have questions, they can ask their questions. If the parent liaisons that work in our building have, that disseminate out to the schools, have questions, they come up and they ask, and I either answer them personally or they can have a specialist do that. Then we're doing, yeah.
I just want to just jump in for a minute.
Sure.
The coaches you talked about.
Yes.
How many coaches are you planning on having?
Total of 24.
So will these coaches be the old facilitators for the models that they used to
I
have?
wasn't here when you had facilitators. Coaches in my frame of work are, these are newly created positions that we've created.
Nancy, you have institutional memory.
Right.
Will these be the old facilitators?
It's a totally different job description.
No.
Totally different.
And will they get 12% of their salary?
No.
No, they're 10-month employees.
Will they be facilitators, what, 10-month employees also?
No, they're 10.5 months.
10 and a half months. Okay, so the coaches will just get their salary based on TEA scale?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. And you want higher, so any of those facilitators will not bump back into these positions?
They have to apply and be interviewed and go through the process. And the same
I'm
is...
sorry, Mr. Ortiz, go ahead.
I have a simple question.
Yeah.
You know, in some of the stuff that I wrote about literacy,
Yeah.
I wanted to know if it would be possible for this program for the school system to read all at one time during the day and join from the 12th grade to the kindergarten and storyline. Would that be possible?
It is possible, and we have that 90-block literacy. That's what we're working on now. We are making our curriculum map not only weekly. We're taking September, the day, what you should do the entire instructional time. But we have to give teachers freedom of pedagogy and content, so we have a resource block where we're putting all the recommended lesson plans, resources, study trips in that block, so it's a pull-down menu, and the teacher can pull down which one they're going to utilize to implement that reading block of instruction for those students. Now, I'm so glad to hear about the partnership, because we need volunteers to come in and help with reading, because one teacher in a classroom, even with a coach, with students who have diverse developmental delays and gaps in reading and math, need extra support.
What I'm looking for is, and I wrote it here, I'd like you to read this and give me some feedback at another time, if that's all right, Mr. Lofty. Imagine an entire family with 4 children being able to relate to one storyline that's happening across the district. The kindergartner or the second or third grader can come home and talk about what's happening with Charlotte's Web, and then the next grade may be learning something that relates to Charlotte's Web at their age-appropriate level, and then you move up to the middle school, and
imagine those a family being able to engage in that type of conversation.
Well, if you look on our curriculum webpage, we have the...
I did, it confused me.
Oh, well, I'd like to have the opportunity to sit down and show everyone how to maneuver through it. But there are our resources that have parental games, activities, around certain themes that are aligned with what they are doing in the classroom. Perhaps some of the confusion goes that it's laid out by content area and by grade level and by resources. And so that's part of the whole coaching and parent training that we need to do so everyone can maneuver through it, so that they can get additional resources, because some students may go through the activities ahead of another child, and you want your child to be challenged on their instructional level. So what we're looking at, you have a student, they read on, maybe they're in the 3rd grade, and they're reading on a pre-primer. So you have to start there, but then you have to go a level above, which means you have to have resources in the classroom. And right now, we're making sure, because the superintendent's focus is literacy, to make sure that the schools have the textbooks, the consumables to go home, and libraries within each classroom so that they can collect reading materials and do research on various topics. Because writing and reading, if you read, you'll be able to write, and do all of the other content areas. And that's what we're focusing on. We're going to have initiatives, but these initiatives are going to be planned by a collaboration of teachers, a representative sampling. Also, on the webpage, the teachers can give their feedback and send it back to us electronically. This feedback is supposed to be discussed at faculty meetings, department level meetings, so that they can expand upon what knowledge they've already have and what instructional strategies they're already delivering in the classroom. And also for teachers to talk about something they've done in the classroom that works for one student, but maybe another student needs to be addressed in a different way. With different dimensions of learning, how do we engage that and address that within the classroom? But that takes a lot of monitoring, and our administrators have to be trained also. But we're starting with our core of teachers, the coaches, and we're having our administrative retreat, and we'll be doing that so that we're all on the same page in what the curriculum is for language arts and literacy, how we're going to implement it, the expectations, and how we can improve student achievement.
That's something else I asked for, Mr. President, a standard book, short and simple and sweet, that will tell Gino, when he picks up the book for his daughter, what she's supposed to get and where she's supposed to be. Is she in the kindergarten yet? In the kindergarten.
We will work on that, and we will not only, when we finish developing it as a group, because all of the grade level ones, all the grade levels will be working together to develop that information for parents, and then we'll have it on the website and print it in Spanish and English so it'll be available. But that's working together with all of the teachers, which means it's a process that's going to occur over time. And grades are not going to, scores are not going to jump tomorrow because we have huge academic delays. We have huge professional development delays. Professional development costs money and resource allocation. That's something that we need your help with in addition to. The monitoring process, when you say monitoring, monitoring isn't just a step-by-step thing. That costs also. You're looking at time on task, you're looking on hours, you're looking on the whole process. The technology to monitor and developing security protocols within our system, you have to have someone that knows technology. Fortunately, that's my language. So doing that is something that takes time. You have to consider all the stakeholders, the counselors, what they need to access, but there are different ways of accessing. And that's what we are working on and developing. I can't give you specifics now, but all of those things impact, because if a student moves from one school to the next, your academic record must have academic integrity with it, and that you're able, that all teachers can see that. And that just goes for discipline, health records, security records, all of those items.
There are so many foundations and parents and organizations, sororities, fraternities that want to help you. Imagine if their only focus was after-school program is reading, writing, and math.
It would be wonderful. It would be great. I welcome the opportunity to do that and work on that level. All of us do.
Okay, so you heard about this is the academic support, because we have a number of issues. There are three major supports: the academic, the family, the parent, and the safety issue. Those are the three major areas. I didn't want to take away time from other people who can do that.
Mr. Lawson, I promise you won't take any of the time. Let me, Mr. Deegan,
I'm done.
Mr. Segura followed by Mr. Mateo.
No, I think that what you are doing, Dr. Branches, is just great. When I was serving at the board, I actually told my colleagues and the then Dr. Light, I had a conversation with him many times, and I said that also, besides implementing all of these programs, it was necessary to include, like somebody mentioned, the teacher especially. Because if the messenger is not right, it doesn't matter how much technology and how much you bring. And I often have said that an educator is not one that cannot do and do. And perhaps, read a nice paragraph and say, this is how you write this sentence. No, it is that one that is sensitive. I'm not saying go babysitter on the kid, no. I'm saying be aware that when little Franco is not able to get that A that he was at that level, then all of a sudden he dropped. And what happened to, is it having some type of problem, with the peers, some peers, at home or whatever? He said, don't be a babysitter, but be sensitive. Why that child? Because, you know that too many clock punchers. I come here just to do my 7 hours and I'm gone. No, be committed, be accountable. And if you are really committed and you have the passion and the patience to teach, do it. But I must say to you that within all these programs is wonderful, and you said something very powerful. It takes time, and we are in bad shape. However, you must, Ms. Blanche, you must implement some type of, not monitoring either, not babysitting those teachers or whatever, but that they also be accountable in the classroom, please. Because otherwise, we're going to be here for many years to come. And I asked the administration then to put a sensitive training in position. And they started, as you know, but then somehow, some way, it went 2 months and went to the backside. It started very nice, and I don't know what happened then. But I left at that time.
I'll investigate, sir.
Please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. This goes to Nancy. For Dr. Butcher, you just arrived, you don't have institutional members. Your programs, the whole school forms like your Successful All, your ALM, your COMA, your Minor Red Schoolhouse, all that money that the district invested in those programs is just going to go cuckoo?
Well, I hope the money has now just been reallocated because you know that last year we were flat funded. So the money, yes, is a problem. It's not there anymore. But the work that was done, a lot of that foundation is still there. What we're trying to do with Dr. Blanchard now is it's going to be a program that is over the entire district. It's not just the elementary school and Successful All that school. So we're taking a lot of information and it's going to be our own post-school reform model based on what she's putting together for all grade 4s and every building. They'll all have the same program. They'll be all doing the same thing on the same week. And that's what we're looking at doing, so that we know we have a high mobility rate. This child who goes to 3 different schools during the year has to be able to walk in the classroom and know what is expected of them. And that was one of the big problems with the whole school reform. Once they left one model and went to another, it was very difficult for the child to catch up because they were looking at a whole different program. We anticipate this will be much better.
And you really haven't wasted money because you have developed skill banks and resources. The issue is there's a lack of continuity in the instruction and skill bank. Haven't wasted it. You have skills that need to be capitalized on and directed for student achievement.
That's debatable. We can talk about that.
Yes, sir.
I got facts and figures. We can talk about that. That's debatable.
Okay.
Thank you, President. One thing that you just said, you gave us a strong diagnosis that there was professional development delays. I don't want to pretend that I know what that means, but that's basically saying that there's some teachers that just can't, they cutting it right now.
Well,
Or
they
having some
need,
difficulty in grasping
they need
the
training on
from technology
new,
to implementation. Let me go on the record and ask you this, because again, it goes back to what we hear. Teachers just come here, make their money, and go home. So I don't want to say that. I don't want to spell that. I just want to ask you with regards to your diagnosis that you gave us of professional development delays. Are we finding that new teachers have outpaced more senior teachers, or senior teachers are not gaining the capability to suck in the new knowledge? And I'm being rhetorical from the question, but here's the question. If these teachers aren't getting it, what are you proposing? What's your diagnosis or your prescription for the diagnosis that you gave, if they're not getting it?
we have many excellent teachers in our school district.
Not talking about the excellent
Okay, but I want to preface it before I go
Not talking
here.
about the excellent teachers.
Okay.
Talking about the ones with the professional development delays.
We have many excellent teachers and many excellent principals. So you get a new teacher, a novice teacher that comes in, just graduating from college. They have the book theory. They've been taught out of the book. They haven't necessarily been in an inner city classroom or a rural classroom. It depends on where that school is located. I'm coming from Virginia State University as the Director of Secondary Education. And I can tell you that higher education isn't necessarily preparing the novice teacher to come in and deal with the diverse scope of academic requirements that are needed to help our
The prescription.
Okay, I'm getting there.
Okay,
So, we have
in
to...
the essence of time.
Okay, so in the essence of time, we have to do an assessment of what skills they are going to need to implement successfully our curriculum and access those resources and utilize the data to improve student achievement.
On a timeline.
On time.
And if they don't succeed in that process,
Well, that's where we have professional improvement plans to help them with those and to analyze that.
so there are exhaustive measures that must take place before a teacher can be removed for incompetence.
I don't know that. My area is not human
Okay, no
resources.
problem. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, no other questions? Thank you.
Who's handling the parents?
Yeah. You want to stand the same? Yeah. We're not, we don't have the information on parents.
Oh, I understand. There's plenty of staff here.
Dr. Weddington, who's in charge of student services, cannot be here because he's actually at a parent meeting.
Okay.
And one of the major issues, and if you look at page 9 at this time.
And let's thank you, Dr. Blanchard, for your presentation.
Certainly, thank you for allowing me the opportunity.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
You see a number of positions here from a parent advisory group. What we want to make sure is that we reinstitute and have a parent advisory group. And what that really means is the PTA presidents of each of the schools will meet on a monthly basis. They began that process now, but really to engross and allow the parents to be the facilitators and leaders of that process, as opposed to it being a district-led. They should really be leading that process. So we're looking to transition them from us being the support and then the PTA presidents running those PAC organizations. One of the major initiatives that this budget will deliver is a parent liaison in each building, a full-time person that has direct access to every single parent, and every single parent has direct access to them. That person will carry a cell phone, and that any issue that a parent may have, they can call this parent liaison for support. So it could be from homework to looking for social services for themselves. It could even be personal things that they're afraid asking about. This person needs to be from the community, somebody that knows what goes on in Trenton, and will be very grounded in what happens. This person has to be qualified and enough to know all the different agencies, so they're going to be well-trained in knowing the agencies that's available to them. And they have to be the eyes and the ears for those parents in the community. Not only, you cannot go, so we think that because parents don't go to PTA meetings or meetings, that they don't want to be involved. That's not true. Many parents have many jobs, have multiple responsibilities, and we find that they can't be there because of those responsibilities. And so that not only will these persons be involved in helping to organize and bringing more parents involved in the school, but we're finding other ways and other resources to engage parents in the involvement of their child's education. So that, to me, anything on this list would be probably one of the biggest initiations of having a full-time parent liaison, and I think that's going to really help to have that in every single school.
Is your commitment that will be a parent?
That it doesn't necessarily have to be, but that was something that they had talked about, it being a parent.
Yes,
Is
the
that
majority
correct?
of the people that are hired right now
Okay.
are parents.
Here's my answer.
in the
Okay.
community.
Now, I was just curious because when we find someone who's not a parent, we're like, well, he's not a parent. He's a parent, man.
Okay, and I'm not sure if Dr. Wedding has anybody to speak on any other issues of
Yes.
concern.
Yes, we do.
And what's the topic?
We have mental health issues, school violence. We have social work services that are being provided in the district.
Okay. I'll turn it over to them because this is kind of part of the parent concerns. I know it meshes in with safety as well, so you're going to kind of talk about...
Yes, we have 3 people.
Oh, okay. So are we going to the next topic is my question?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to page 10. Any questions on the parent, page 9, before I step away?
No, I don't. Thank you, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, Mr. White, please state your name and title for the
Howard
district.
White. I'm the Director of Office of School Safety and Security.
Yes, sir.
Some of the things that was mentioned, especially by Nancy, dealt with some of the money that was allocated to the city, used in terms of additional security people and making the schools a little safer. One of the projects that we started out with was our district-wide emergency response and crisis plan. Originally, we got a grant for it, but there was some other areas in that grant that we did not cover for, so some of the money that we received, we used. And what has happened is that we have a district-wide uniform crisis emergency response plan.
That's the booklet or something like this with the several
Yeah.
color codes.
Well, it's not that big. It's not like this, but it's color-coded, and it addresses every type of issue or emergency that we may experience or may happen within the school district. In addition to that, we had a classroom guide for every classroom teacher that the classroom teacher has, where she can look and determine what action or what course of action she should take in case of any type of emergency or problem that may arise that she's not fully aware of how to deal with. In addition to that, we had a security, vulnerability, and assessment made of each and every building in the district. As a result of that report and the findings, we have what our company who we hired, Risk Solutions, to do this security and vulnerability report, has given us a list of considerations. Those considerations deal with life safety issues, building issues, and security and safety issues. Those issues will currently be addressed with each building administrator, along with Nancy Swirsky and Mr. Collins, where we will sit down and start looking at what we need to do to make our buildings more safer for staff and students, and the other issues that we need to address in terms of security equipment, cameras, video, and the vast majority of the considerations dealt with having video security systems in all of our schools in the district. So we're looking at using the additional funds for video equipment. We've also have instituted what we call CAS. CAS is a comprehensive attendance, administration, and security system.
And that's the part that you're supposed to get.
Yes.
Okay.
We originally, the first phase of the CAS system was placed in Trenton Central High School, Trenton Central High School West, our Medical Arts Building, Grace A. Dunn School, Edgepath Williams, and the Career Life Center. This system is a system that can help administrators identify those students who are students who should be in the building. Once they come in, they swipe, it's a swipe card. They swipe their cards, their picture immediately comes up on the computer screen. We call those stations. It also gives the administration and or administrator to go in to include discipline problems or put a notice on a kid's card when he comes in. Say, student John needs to have a parent conference before he is able to re-enter the building. That information is keyed in the night before. It's downloaded sometime between 5 and 6 o'clock from our SASE system, which they take the information from SASE, download it to CAS, so when John comes into school the next morning, he swipes his card and we got a little alert. Either it could be a verbal alert or it could be music saying, Johnny is suspended, he's not allowed to school. So we can use it for discipline, we can use it for checking lunches. We have multiple lunches in our schools. We can check to make sure that kid is supposed to be in that school. We can also use it with our discipline. We're able to pull John's record up at a moment's notice to look at his discipline record. We can generate reports on when, attendance reports that go out to the homeroom teachers, classroom teachers, because at Trenton High we don't have homerooms anymore. The classroom teacher can look at her list to see if, in fact, John did come into school that morning. So it will help us identify kids and help us to identify those kids who are not students. We have a part of that program which is a hall monitor, which is a portable type unit. We can stop any kid at any given day, any given time in that building and check the hall pass if he has the pass. We can tell whether or not he's cutting or he has permission to be here or he, in fact, did not come to school. So we have a lot of components to it. We also have a bus component. One of the problems that we've had lately, as you know, a couple kids were left on buses. Was not the fault of the district, but it was the fault of one of our vendors. So now with the bus component, we can also have kids, when they get on the bus, scan to be on the bus. Because you scan in, you scan off. We also have what is called a ID component part. What's so good about the ID component part is that, say, a parent comes in to visit the school and she wants to see her daughter. So what happens, we ask for a form of ID, a driver's license or anything with a picture. We'll scan that picture. Once that picture is scanned, the information will come up on the screen whether or not this is the bona fide guardian to visit and take care of business for that particular student. If you're a part of the National Sex Offenders criteria, it automatically let us know that John Doe is a sex offender. So we're happy with the system, and we're going to install this system in 4 more schools on the second phase, then we will have this system throughout the district. Yes.
Excuse me, Chief White. When the monies were appropriated, and I think maybe a year or so ago when we first received the funds, and I think it later released them to the district. At that time, Trenton High School main campus and also Trenton High School West, part of the problems were there. Now it seems like the situation with the incidents of violence went down at those schools, and it has seen some increase in violence at the elementary school, the pre-K to the 8th grade. So how have you shifted now resources to the West Coast district?
What has happened is that we look at the Kilmer School, we look at Jefferson, we look at Revere. A lot of the kids from the old King Middle School are being bused all over to the other districts. And the other thing that we have to keep in mind is that some of these kids are now gang affiliated. We have decreased in a lot of incidents at our schools during school and after school, but at the Kilmer level, at Kilmer School and Jefferson, we've seen not a big increase, but a slight increase in the amount of fights. Not assaults, but fights among students. Revere also. But Revere, again, was basically on the outside of the school. Most of the incidents that we have reported to us for Revere were outside. P.J. Hill, we've seen not a large, but an increase in fighting in that building. But since we have, I hired about 16 new security people, and we put them throughout the district. as a result of the hiring of additional people. The principal now at the PJ Hill has changed the way she manages her different lunches and her hallways and her building. I believe you're over at PJ Hill. So it has helped, but it hasn't helped until we can get a handle on those group of kids that we have that create the havoc all the time to see what other type of alternative educational plan we can offer that child. Because there's a group of them that you have over at PJ Hill because they're gang affiliated in that Wilbur section. The same thing with a lot of Kilmer's incidents. It's the same thing. Some of those incidents we don't know about. Some go unreported to us, and I'll be honest about it.
A good question. I'm glad you brought that up. How do you work on that, those unreported incidents?
What we do, normally I get a phone call, and this Bruce is over here. I have, like, you say you want a lot of parent involvement. Well, I got a lot of parent involvement. They will give me a call or email me, and then I will look into it. And it's, most of the time it comes up, we just haven't done the paperwork yet.
Yeah, see now, Mr. Pentella, my colleague, was talking about holding teachers speak to the fire. But you have to do that linchpin and hold administrators. Not, we have to.
Well, see, a lot of times,
like I
most
tell
of
my
the
constituents,
paperwork.
hold my feet to the fire. Everybody should be accountable.
Well, Mr. Patel, when I find out that there's incidents that fail to get to us in a timely manner, I personally call that principal and sit down with the principal or the disciplinarian, because some schools have disciplinarians. The job of the disciplinarian is to notify us of any incidents. They're to do required paperwork that should be submitted to the office within 48 hours. For the most part, we get that paperwork. Sometimes there's a delay in receiving that paperwork because of a multitude of other reasons. Or they just forgot to do it, or it just wasn't done until it's brought to their attention. But we have pretty much got a handle on some of the incidents that go unreported until we report it to them at this point. We review all the incidents that come to me. I review them. We look at the incidents. We get back to the disciplinarian or the principal, and we make recommendations. A lot of the stuff that's reported to us should not have been reported because it's not required for us to report it to the state on the state. But we require each administrator to report to us with what we call an RI-90 report, which is a report to the superintendent's office and to myself and to the other superintendent's office that gives us an outline, a brief outline of an incident that has occurred in their building.
Thank you, sir. I may ask one of the questions what are the training requirements for security guards?
Well, we're glad you asked that. Starting September, starting in September, we have a 12-week training course at the Trenton Police Academy. Each security officer is going to be required to be trained and attend that 12-week academy. The basic requirements is to have some type of security experience from either private industry, law enforcement, corrections, and naturally they do a background check. But even with that, what we hope to bring out of all of this is that this will be the first training academy or a training class of its kind in the state where all schools security officers will be trained by the Trenton Police Department.
Mr. White, yeah, he spoke. He knew I was going to ask that question. But I got two things though. Well, first of all, is it true, that camera on both campuses, very few cameras are working on few campuses, like 70% of it?
No, that's not true. No? We, at our new campuses, all those cameras are up and running. Trenton High, we have requested a estimate to get our new camera system in. At Trenton High, those cameras have been in existence for 8 years now. They have run from day one to the day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and now they're starting to go. So we're in the process of having our vendor come in and look at what we need, and what we're looking at is to upgrade This was the first system. It's called a NICE system. NICE was the first company that came out with such a camera system. Now we have the new systems in 2 of our schools. It means now we have to upgrade software in order to go online with what we currently have. And what we are looking at is to have the same type of system throughout the district that's compatible, where we can move from one school to another and you can operate the same type of camera. It's web-based, so I can be home and I can look at what's going on in a different school.
It's not that I doubt you, but I hold that whole truth because I don't mean to throw no stones, but I was at the board, and I sat down many nights when, this incident, that incident, especially the high school, back when the person that we cannot even mention, was there. So many incidents happens and none of them were reported. I mean, one day we sat down with 70 or more parents, and one police officer just couldn't stand there no more. She got up and says, "You're lying. That's not true." Because, and I know, that I'm glad that you're training these people now, Mr. White, because that's what this, maybe now, life will be much easier for the student, for the faculty, when it comes to safety. Why? Because, it is too many of them, too many incidents. Because, if constituents are telling me, listen, 50 to 70% of the cameras are not working, well, then those people that are parents, maybe they're lying, maybe not. You know what I mean? You got to give them the benefit of the doubt.
One of the things we have to keep in mind, our kids at the high school know where every one of our cameras are located. A lot of things that go on at every one of the schools where there are cameras, they will not be there in front of the cameras doing whatever they see fit to do. So some of that stuff, and I agree with you, might not be reported, might not be captured on a camera because these kids now are easily to identify the camera. And we have about 90 cameras. I would say we got about 15% of them down at the high school, and they're not all over the building. When we first installed that camera system, we only had a little bit of money to work with. So it's not like there's 200, 300 cameras in Trenton Central High School. We have a lot of additional hallways and areas where we need cameras, and that's what we're working on now, to add additional cameras into that, particularly into Trenton High, and then expand what we're doing and upgrade from what we have now to the newer
Could you make me a favor then, do me a favor, make sure then, please sir, that those cameras are really active and working, so that we don't have no incident where, in a corner over there, there was an incident but the camera was not working and things like that. Make sure, because a lot of time, maybe that security guard is not there to prevent that incident, but the camera is there to report it. And then, the police, and how closely are you working with the police department right now?
Well, we meet the youth staff, and every other Tuesday, I meet with all the district commanders, and I meet with Captain Paul Messina in his district, which has about 6 lieutenants. We meet every Tuesday at my office, and we go over safety issues during the week, the past week, with each and every school, what issues I have with police coverage and what issues he has with things being reported or not reported to police, or issues that he needs to share with me in terms of gang violence that happened the night before, or something that might have happened a week ago. He has names of kids who we need to identify for them and for us to make sure that we know where they are and what gang and what group that they're affiliated. So this is every other week, a weekly thing, plus a daily thing. We have increased patrols around the Trenton High, Dunn, the West Campus, Rivera, P.J. Hill, and Hedgepath Williams. So there's a big presence of police in the morning and in the evening, which has caused a lot of the incidents after school to drop down greatly. It has also created an atmosphere at the different schools. The officers are instructed to come into the buildings during the course of the day. park the vehicles and walk through the buildings every single day at the 3 big locations. And they do this every single day. We have one sergeant who's assigned as the SRO at Trenton Central High School, Sergeant Caper. It's our hopes, and next year we will have 2 school resource officers that will be assigned to the district. So with the stepped up police presence in and around the school and the police officers getting out their cars, spending time in our buildings, it has changed the atmosphere a lot in each one of our buildings in terms of offenses being committed.
Mr. White, let me just reiterate what you just said. Did you say it's your hope, or by the school year?
We will have 2 additional school resource officers assigned to the district.
Commencing the upcoming school
September,
year?
that's correct.
Ms. State, yes, ma'am.
Chief White, you can do anything you want. I want you to explain to us all what constitutes a generation, what is it, R19?
Yes.
And what does it? I want to add also, I want you to also tell me about another security measure, because I know that a lot of the incidents at the high school and in our middle schools relate to trespassing, coming in and causing a ruckus. So I want to know, in addition to the surveillance cameras that we have up, are there any moves to upgrade our doors, emergency doors, like they have in other districts? And then the other issue I want to talk to you about is the rise in violence or student altercation in the particular grammar school. Have you been able to analyze the data from last year to now? Do you see that that is maybe because of the incorporation of the higher grades from 6 to 8 schools that have expanded and brought in middle schools? Is that one of the reasons why you have a higher incident rate?
I would like to say yes. To that, your last question, the higher grades going into the middle, your K to 8 grades, your kids are normally used to like the 6th grade. Now you got kids that are 7th and 8th graders that are much bigger than the fellow students that supply them. Most of them live in the same neighborhood, and so they influence the kids, the younger kids, a great deal. And they come in. They know the kids from the neighborhood. They know what type of kids they are, and they clash when they get to school. It's not a happy atmosphere, I believe, because they're being possibly bullied, kicked around the same way they're being kicked around in their neighborhoods, and they know that these kids are the older kids, and they're pretty much influenced by them. The second part of what you say, the statement about the doors, Mr. Collins, we had, could you just touch on the door situation at Trenton High for me?
I'm sorry, my name is Everett Collins. I'm the Director of Facilities in the Trenton Public Schools.
Yes, sir, Mr. Collins.
As we all know, speaking about the high school, there's quite a few doors.
How many, Mr. Collins?
There's over, I think, 72, 73?
No, 76.
76 doors. So it's virtually impossible to cover all the doors. It was impossible to put cameras on the doors. Also, what we found out is a lot of the doors are the original doors, older doors. So it's impossible to really secure them properly during the course of the day. So what we're doing partially with some of the funding that came from the city is that we had a company come out and put in a demonstration door that has the feature of, first of all, meeting the fire division code, which has a panic bar which locks automatically when you close it. Believe it or not, we have quite a few doors at Trenton High that do not do that presently. Also with that, it has the capability, the funding is there, to certainly have it monitored back at the dispatch or just the White Security Office. At the same time, it has the capability that if in fact the door is ajar or open, that the camera itself will zero in on that particular action at that time to make a determination and cover that, record that as to what happens at that door. So we're looking to put all new doors in the exterior of Trenton Central High.
All right. I want to go back to, if the door is ajar, the camera zooms in on it.
It'll trigger the camera.
Yes.
Okay, it'll trigger the camera.
Yes, by
All right.
motion.
All right, so, but ideally, that is not really very effective, because all that camera is doing is recording history. You know what I'm?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So is there something else more proactive? Is there a way to, for that,
Yes.
when the door is ajar, is there an alarm?
Yes.
Is there
I failed to mention that. There's three different segments. First of all, it locks secure. Second, it sends an alarm. Thirdly, the camera will react to what takes place and record it at that moment. The alarm would go back, first of all, to the security office. So that officer who's monitoring that office would, at that time, would see and hear the alarm. So he or she could alert another officer to say that door 5 or door 6, there's an intruder or a person that doesn't belong there. But that's really Mr. White's jurisdiction. But that, I mean, we've discussed that.
That's all a part of the facilities, they, part with Mr. Collins, because I have to work with Mr. Collins' department in order to get these doors in. And like you said, it will alert us, it'll send an alarm right to the control panel where we can dispatch someone right to the door. Now, the first part of your RI-90.
Hold on, I know you want to go just a little bit, got one more of the question.
I don't want to skip
Well,
that.
that's the story. I just want to know, well, the public, well, I'm sure the public would like to know, this demonstration board.
Yes.
Okay. And it looks like they would serve the purpose with regards to securing the Trenton High main campus.
Yes.
That door is there. And so how many are you looking to purchase? How many are you going to be able to do these doors? All the doors?
We would like to replace all the doors. Whether or not the funding will be available to replace all the doors, that's another discussion.
Is there any, so is it, are any of this money set aside in the budget?
But that's the money that's part of the capital improvement fund that came from the city. Okay. So that is set aside, yes, but not in the state budget, yes.
How much is it per door?
Okay, your RI-90. RI-90 is a form that is filled out by either the school disciplinarian or the school administrator. What it does is a brief, it's like a police report, but it's a brief report detailing an incident, what happened, when it happened, how it happened, who was the victim, who was witnesses, who was the accused, with a short part where we tell what actions we took as a result of the kids' misbehavior. It could be suspension, out of school suspension, in school suspension. He can be suspended and referred to a legal hearing due to the type of incident. Everything starts at the school level. When there's an incident, regardless of the magnitude of the incident, that RI-90 must be prepared and delivered to the superintendent's office in a reasonable amount of time, which is within 48 hours. Along with that RI-90 is a state reporting form, which is it's called the Electronics Violence and Vandalism Reporting System that we're required by law to report to the state. That form details victims and witnesses. It gives them complete demographics of the victim or the accused, and it has check-off boxes. If it was a weapon used, we check it off, and then we compile a package with if there's victims, we have witness statements, victim statements, teacher statements, all compiled into one, which we call it a complete package that we now forward to the superintendent, the legal, and to the deputy superintendent's office. That is how we record and document incidents within the district.
What's recordable and what's not?
Everything we have.
I mean, what's recordable? Yeah, I'm sorry.
Any big violence, for instance, that would be your robberies, your rapes, your thefts, your assaults, aggravated assaults.
Criminal offenses.
Yes, criminal offenses. Then you have your violence, which is like your fighting, your threat, your criminal mischief. Those things and weapons and stuff are reported to the state. Every one of the vandalism, the violence and vandalism offenses are reported to the state.
Tit for tat in the hallway.
Now, gang fights, that type of incidents are reported to the state. Anything that does not happen on school ground is not reportable to the state. But anything that can happen on school grounds is reportable. Anything that happens at a school-sponsored event is reportable. Anything that happens after school or on a weekend that school-sponsored is reportable to the state.
Things en route to and from a school event.
Is not reportable because it did not happen on school property. And that's how the state does it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
In a nutshell, the state to say we're not under-reporting?
Now, we're about the only district in the state that reports everything. It's not too much that we don't report to the state. And if you look at numbers, and recently, there's a website that if you want to get that website, I'll give it to you, where the average citizen can go into the New Jersey reporting system, DOE, and see numbers and see the incidents that occur in your district and and at your area schools. They just came up with a website where the general public can view and get a snapshot of what we put into the system.
We're going to check it.
I'll provide you with the
Well,
website.
we got our technicians right here on. This right there, yes ma'am.
President, this is the disciplinary.
School and school student safety issue.
Can I, just at this point, President, just briefly make a statement? I'd like to know if you would consider, or the staff, all of you would consider eliminating altogether, unless there's violence, real violence concern, out-of-school suspension. And let me tell you why. I hear you've been there. I'm a parent of a teenager. You know about those parties and all the wild stuff. But whenever a kid is out of school, there's more trouble. There's more trouble. You're building more opportunity for theft, vandalism, teenage pregnancy. You support when you do this because these kids are home alone. And a host of other issues. So I'd like to, Mr. President, if I may,
Yes, ma'am.
just ask you to take a look at in-school suspension completely and just track them for maybe 18 months and see what the benefit is, if it does us any real good, because I'd rather have a kid in school, segregated, and in-school suspension, still learning in the classroom, coupled with some social services, than to have them on the street, unsupervised, with nothing. That's it. That's all I have.
Yeah, we got any questions for Chief White? Chief White, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. White, any more additions to your, I think that was the third component.
That segues directly into what Mr. Craig would like to discuss with you about what's happening in the guidance area.
Thank you.
Service room. Okay.
Can you give me that?
There's three of us from our department.
Thank you, sir.
Just for the record, just state your name and title.
Yes, my name is Beverly Ann Smith. I'm a crisis counselor at Trenton Public Schools.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Mary Burke, I'm coordinator workforce nation. I'm Doris Angela Craig, I'm a special education counselor at the Office of Special Education.
Okay, yes, ma'am, thank you.
Okay. What we did was we tried to address various areas that were brought to us by Dr. Weathington. The first issue is mental health services. And one of the things, I want to kind of go back a little bit about what you had asked Cordelia regarding the 7th and 8th graders moving into the elementary schools. There's other issues related to children and violence, and my kids act the way they do. That I think that our district needs to be aware of, and there are three counselors here that turn around and go, oh wow. One of the things that really concerns us is that there's a lot of family dysfunction with kids that are violent. There's issues of kids that are homeless. There are issues of kids dealing with substance abuse issues. There's issues in terms of sexual identity that we're starting to become very aware of and working with children on. So when we turn around and the age that you're talking about, that developmental age, that adolescent period, when you turn around and take a look at research, that's the area where kids are starting to act out. It's before they become adolescents, it's called pre-adolescence. So what Dr. Webington and my colleagues have
decided to do was to address some of those issues. I want to start with mental health issues, and the question was, how do we provide for our student population in Trenton Public Schools? Well, we have crisis intervention services, which is my office. We have Greater Trenton Behavioral Health. We have value options to the Mercer County area. We have Catholic Charities, which is called Mobile Response, that goes into the homes that do short-term counseling. We have Catholic Charities, Family Growth, which deals with sexual abuse, domestic violence issues. We have El Centro that really identifies and works very closely with Latino families in Trenton. We have Children's Home Society. They work with bereavement. They work with loss, traumatic loss. We have PEI Kids, which we work very closely with Dr. Brooks and her staff and Evelyn Gill, that primarily deals with sexual abuse, physical abuse, and work very closely with the Division of Youth and Family Services.
Can you give us some numbers?
I don't have any, we weren't asked to bring those numbers, but we have quite a few, a high rate of children being referred to these agencies here, and I'd be glad to get it at a later time. We talked about youth emergency services through Helene Tool Hospital that provide services for kids that are suicidal. What my colleagues are seeing, that we're getting children at younger ages. We have clinical social workers that are doing private work in high schools and in middle schools with our young people. We have developed what is called positive behavioral support through the MACE Institute in several of our elementary schools. We have substance abuse counselors that are tracking and monitoring and working with groups, COSA groups, parents that are dealing with substance abuse issues, coming out of rehab and reconnecting with their families.
How many substance abuse counselors do you have?
Unfortunately, we only have 3 for the district. We need more. We need programs that deal with these kinds of issues in the elementary school, but we only have 3.
Excuse me, how many did you initially have?
Initially, we had 4. And in addition to... No. We only had 1. We've always had 1. Excuse me? 1 at the high school, 2 in the middle schools, and we had 1 that would float and work in the elementary school. She left. We have comprehensive education resources for support services. We have the Mercer County Special Services to provide behavioral management support to students and parents. We also have a very unique program that started this year called Family Solutions for parents and children dealing with advocacy in terms of providing various services for their kids. They identify them with learning disabilities, medical issues, that kind of thing. My colleague, Doris McCrae, has been working very closely with that parenting group and getting parents to get parents to understand their rights and the rights of their children, what an IEP is, how to ask questions, take notes, that kind of thing. So it's been very, very successful. I'm not going to address the whole issue of school violence because my colleague, Mr. White, already did that. But I want to talk about a little bit about legal hearings. Sharon Lamore and myself, we work very closely with families. There's a hearing officer, Mr. Morazzo, who also is very involved with families. They are a long, long process. Many times we see other issues going on with children and families. There may be some issues related to a child not connecting with a father, the child acting out, becoming very angry, mother and daughter relationships that are not very healthy ones. So when we identify these issues during our legal hearings, we refer out. We have a host of psychologists that specialize in various areas and various issues that we can refer to. We also have what is called a 45-day placement. Doris has a lot of experience working with ESC which we, up in Titusville, am I correct, Doris? Doris, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, basically, the 45-day placement is an opportunity for parents to get more involved in what programs are available. If in any way a child is experiencing any difficulties in the classroom, whether it's a behavioral or academic problem, what we do is we come together through intervention and referral services in the school itself. Intervention and referral services is basically a core team of individuals that is gathered together. It could be it's basically a special education teacher, a general education teacher. It's also the school nurse, the school administrator, a guidance counselor, and they also have adult members from the community that can participate. The parent is also involved in this planning and brainstorming event. Now, what we try and do is to try and look at all the elements that are involved. Many times the teacher doesn't know what's happening. The school counselor might know what's happening. Until we can sit down and really communicate, this is what happens is to come up with a plan that's going to work for that student. We recently went through an audit with the state of New Jersey, and we successfully implemented intervention and referral services throughout the district, which is commendable to all the counselors. And the counselors are the ones that have spearheaded this in each individual school in the district. With this 45-day placement, I'm going to come back to that, it's basically a choice for the parent. It is an option. So if this child is struggling in the classroom, we can say, well, we can't really meet the needs of your child, but these are the alternatives that we can give to you. There are several schools that can meet the needs of your student, meet the needs of that child. So we can have that parent go out to that school, interview the administrators at that facility, and come back and make an appropriate decision. So if they're not satisfied, then we come back to the table and we say, well, what else can we bring? Is there any other resources in the district? Is there an after-school program? Is there tutoring services? Is there any other one-on-one that we can provide for that particular student? So we don't want that child to leave the district until we have exhausted every single option that's available to that parent. So that's what happens before the 45-day course.
I see my other colleague here, Melda Grant, that also is very part of our division and student school-based. And do you want to add anything to, because you basically work with the high school students.
Our program is funded to be site-based at the high school, so on-site access to our services. The one of the components is mental health. We see about 10% of the school population on a school year basis, and of the 10% that we see, I would say at least half of them come from mental health services. And we do a teen parenting program, employability skills training, as well as youth development activities.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to, Ms. Burke.
Okay, I have two things that I'm going to talk with you about. First of all, I was asked to come here today and to talk about the transition services, the vocational for our students. And as I was hired to do as the coordinator of workforce relations, is be that liaison between employers, the county, the city, the state, vendors, employers, to bring employment to our students. I work under the caption of uniting high academic skills with workplace skills. So first of all, I did a little research on our transitional services, because one thing, I'm always partnering with everybody at the school, everybody. So transitional services at Mercer County Community College. There's transition. Our students in the early 90s, Trenton Central High School, discontinued their vocational opportunities. However, TCHS has worked a good relationship with Mercer County Voc Tech School. The students who enter the Voc Tech School are primarily 9th and 10th graders. What happens with these students is that the counselors, our guidance counselors, are the leaders of this. In January, any student that is interested in any kind of vocational training go to their counselors. They submit an application, and from that point, Mercer County Community College takes the lead. There are two campuses, as everybody knows, Astor Pink and SciTech. With AFTPINK, this is where their general type of vocational courses, and at SciTech, this is where they have the more, the ones that are, I guess, that are our special needs students definitely would benefit from. At this time, we have approximately 21 students that are attending these schools. We have about 15 at SciTech and 6 at Nashville High.
That's what, I'm sorry, that's what
Approximately.
VOTEC?
Huh? Yes.
VOTEC?
Yes.
Vocational technical students
Cool.
that are
Right.
attending, of Trenton students who are attending those schools.
Yeah, yeah.
Are
And-
in of 21?
Yeah, right now. I got these
All from
numbers.
high school?
I got
So
these
out of
numbers
about-
approximately, okay, because I was given this, so my research say, well, I asked a couple of counselors, as I say, that my partnership with them, I'm talking with them about these things, so I asked them for some approximate figures.
Right,
And
you're
those
saying
were the figures.
21 out of the student body at Trenton High School,
Yes,
which is about, what, 25, 3,600, something
Yes,
like that?
it is.
yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. T.
No, this is at, this is at North, yes, this is at the main
Let me
campus.
just clarify what I said. I'm saying you're only giving us the statistics of about 21 students who are actively participating
Right.
in vocational type training high school.
And Mercer County Go Tech,
At Mercer County Go
because
Tech.
I'm going to tell you a bit more.
And I'm only responding
Okay.
because my colleagues know that we just had
21.
someone that came here and just said Trenton High needs to have a vocational tech program. You know, why are kids attending those programs? And you're telling us they have that access,
Right.
and then and it's only limited. I only say limited. You only have that many students.
That's because only a certain number is allocated to Trenton for students to go there.
From the institution
Yes,
itself.
exactly.
Okay. From the county.
Yes,
I was supposed to
yes.
say it was a county official.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm saying only, because when I heard 21, I was surprised too. There was only a certain amount, slot. Our students spend a half a day at the Mercer County Road Tech and a half a day at Trenton Central High School. And at Trenton Central High School, they have 2 courses plus gym. However, the counselors that I spoke with said this partnership is successful, especially for the special needs students. Now, Trenton Central High School's applied engineering and science also, they have some programs that at one time were vocational, and they still have a special program called robotics, and I think this has been a special interest to the students. Also, Trenton Central High School has what they call a small learning community of hotel, restaurant, and tourism, and this is where the culinary arts is.
Right.
So again, we do have something there, and we do have a significant amount of students that are enrolled in those 2 small learning communities. Now,
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Excuse me, Mr. T.
Oh.
Do you want to make a comment?
Mr. President, I just wanted to say that if that is in fact the case and services are available through both tech, then I'm going to again make the request that you do a little bit more to advertise, because the President is correct. We had an official here from the county that was pushing for both tech schools, and I can understand the need for them, but in many farms in the community it has been alleged that there are no voc tech services available, so I just like to ask you to take care of that for us.
I just wanted to know, I kind of missed the information there. It's only how many, 21 slots?
okay, this is from the
How
main
does
campus.
population work?
This is the main campus that I'm speaking of, and I'm speaking of immediate research that I did today.
So it's only 21?
Approximately.
You could have said 22. You could have said 23. It wouldn't make a
That's
difference.
all
Right, no, yeah. But I mean, like, isn't that kind of small? You know, I mean, I mean, those services extended to how many Voltech schools?
Okay, it's
No, in Mercer County, yeah.
Mercer County.
13 minutes per hour.
All the schools go there, and they're allotted slots. We only have, we don't know
Try to do
how many
something about that.
I did that, I was like a lot of children and nothing. Okay. Yeah, it's usually matched every year. Okay, that was my instant research on transitional services and vocational. Now, I will, if there are certain figures you want me to get back, I will get those figures and turn them into, because I only get the resources from the main campus, because that's where I'm housed. But as the coordinator workforce relations, I am in the field, and I go to all of the campuses.
I'd like to know the reason why 21, and if this body can actually help. If it's needed for the increase, then let us know when you revisit us.
Okay.
We'll issue the chairman.
Okay. I know there's one thing that was in my discussion with the counselors. They said that there is an issue, and it's the transportation issue. They said that it appears that the students are not getting to the bus on time, and they have a certain time they have to be there. So that may be one of the little issues that's happening.
We've heard that.
Okay. All right. Well, as I said, I talked with the counselors, and this is the information. That was the last part. No, the last part is good.
I knew about the predetermined slots. I know it wasn't just open-ended. I didn't know it was 21, so what I want to know is that, do you have a waiting list? What do you do? What is your waiting list? And if you have one, where do those kids go? How are they redirected?
I can tell you one thing about what's happening with the county, because I've been in discussions with Dr. Schneider, who's the superintendent of Mercer County Special School District, and the problem that they're having is actually with the size of the school itself. And they are looking to have the county support a new school being built. That is part of the problem.
It's for our regional system. Right. Very good. Okay, there's one more. Oh, the last thing is the employment. And this is my passion here, it's about the employment of our students here in Trenton. That's my passion. And definitely I am in partnership with a lot of people about employment for our students. We've had a program now for 7 years with Six Flags. First of all, it's the employability skills seminar that transportation was attached to it.
It's not close to Mr. Brocade.
Yeah.
Years right now. Okay. I just want to make sure you got that.
Okay. And this would have been our 7th year. It hasn't been approved yet because we may not have the money to fund it. However, the students had to attend a 1-hour employability seminar each week. They have the job. We're going to assist them in keeping the job. And to have the accountability and the responsibility for that job.
Is that for seniors?
This is for any students at Trenton Central High School that's enrolled and has a job at Six Flags. Okay? Now, if they do not attend that 1-hour seminar, they cannot have transportation for a week. So we talk about Plan A and B and C with them. But we have had this program for 7 years. Okay? And this has been a big employment thing for our students. Another thing that I must say that's very important is that we've had over funding for transportation from the school to Six Flags.
I mean, who's the funding? The board is the funding?
Yes. 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 Okay. That's just part of it. I do work with the city. We just had a job fair where we had the people from a what can I call it? Technology firm with the city, and we had it opened up for our seniors, and then we had it opened up to the community by also with the city of Trenton. Also with our students, we also had a big fair in February, and we had over 40 vendors there for our students, and they even got a preview of what to do at a job fair prior to. My passion is a resume for every student at Trenton Central High School, whether they've had work experience or not. So I go into the classroom. Sometimes we do it in group. I do have it on paper. It is a very flexible one, so I don't have a template because I want it to be less flexible for the students. So the employment is one of the high things that we want, and especially the Six Flags, because that was keeping students off of the street during the summer. Because the shift that we worked was the 12 to 8 shift. Those students had to be at the school by 11 o'clock. When they get off from work at 8 o'clock and then get home by 9, you know, they're tired. They're tired. So that kept them off of the street and making money and being accountable and responsible. Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions about it?
Transportation is the only issue you're dealing with right now.
Transportation? Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
We want to wrap it up. Doris wants to add something, and then I want to put it in the frame.
I'm just going to piggyback in reference to students with special needs, is that they're not left out of the picture because they also need opportunities for employment. And how we connect that is that we also make sure that they have the skills and prepare them. And we look into the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. We look into job coaching and shadowing for the students. There's opportunities for them out, you know, whether it be art or outside of art. So they're also included into that picture. So, you know, that's in the same area. And last of all, I just wanted to cap it off with, it's just a pilot program that we just started. It's called My E-Careers. And this is an online career-based, I would say, an inventory of interest for the students to begin to look at and explore. So this is something that is student-driven. When they go online, they can do it at home or they can do it at school. But for the students that were chosen, it was just at the high schools. And basically, they were able to go in and do several interest inventories, whether it was aptitude, their personal qualities, temperaments for different work situations, problem-solving skills, just to name a few. And they were able to answer these questions. They were able to also look into different career paths. Looking into these career paths, they looked into building a portfolio. And the good thing about this program is building this portfolio, there's an essay question portion, which I wish to tie in with Dr. Blanchard, that can be cross-content. So if they have to write an essay, it could be for maybe an English assignment, and they can tie it into the vocation. So it's not just where the teacher wants them to think about or to write about. It's something of interest so that they can develop the skills and apply them to something that interests them. So this is one thing that we're looking at that would be student-driven and hopefully implemented across the district. So if it's on a high school level and they're thinking about what they want to do, they can also adjust it for middle school so they can begin to tie their academics to what career they want to choose and what they want to do. And that will be online, so it will follow them. So if they change schools, it's accessible for any counselor, for any principal, and also for the parents to take a look at. So that's one thing that we wish to start with.
In closing, what we'd like to say about social work services within our Division of Student Services, what do we provide? Crisis counseling service, social service and support for homeless families, substance abuse service for students and families, parent and student advocacy and support, provide school personnel training and resources. Last year we had one of the largest conferences for staff, and it was very well received. Case management and clinical resources for at-risk families, bereavement and grief counseling, short-term counseling and resources, gang training through our Phoenix program, the Spirit program, for parents and for staff. District-wide crisis management training. We have a district-wide crisis management team. Many of you, the people that presented today from our division, are part of that team, to work with staff, to work with families, to work with children. Provide information related to the Division of Youth and Family Services, a better understanding, a better relationship with the division. Tracking sexual predators under the Megan's Law. School-based services at Trenton Central High School. Early childhood services for parents and for children. The 504 intervention services, which we provide children
in our district, student health services and support, and lastly, home instruction, placement, and support by the medical department. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you for the education. Ms. Horsham,
Well, I'm not going to bore you with all the numbers.
you're not going against Chuckman.
Okay. Well, I think if you skip ahead to page 38, that's pretty much where, 38, pretty much where we ended up with the budget. We would have liked to have had an increase from the state of a little over $8 million. That would have been an increase of 4%, but they would only allot us the 3%. So we did have a shortfall of a little over $2 million. And as you can see, the caliber of the people that we have to run the district, that we really find the best people that we can. Perhaps Carolyn Gibson would like to talk a little about the highly qualified and the issues that you have now with these type of situations. Now we have to cut the budget.
My name is Carolyn Gibson. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks for the hot seat now. You're all relaxed and ready to go.
Yeah, fans. You've got me a fan of this meeting.
You've heard Dr. Bledsoe talk about all the things he's trying to do in the school when it comes to putting certain kind of people into the classroom and making certain kind of programs happen in the school district. It's going to take those kind of folks who are highly qualified and certified to do this, that. The way things are going right now, before you used to be able to have a K-8 certification from the state of New Jersey, that means you can teach any class that's in kindergarten through 8th grade and teach any subject under the sun. They changed it, no time left behind, they changed it to say if you're going to teach grades 6, 7, 8, you're going to teach any course of math, science, social studies, language arts, you must be either certified in those areas, which means you've gone to college, got a degree in those areas, or you call highly qualified in those areas.
This is federal law.
This is all state and federal law, and there's no child left behind. What that means is that you've taken and passed the exam, because you are qualified to teach a core subject, or you've taken at least 15 or 30 credits in that core subject, or you've done what they call the House Standard Plan, which means you've taken enough workshops and seminars to be able to be qualified to teach the content knowledge of that core area. That sounds very good and very easy to do. When it comes down looking at math and science teachers, they are the hardest areas to find, and teachers are handicapped. Teachers are handicapped endorsement changed 2 years ago. Before you can go out and say, I want to be a teacher for handicapped, teach special needs children, get a degree, that's all you need. Now they're saying let's have that degree and another endorsement that is going to be one of the core areas to be highly qualified to teach special education. So it's changing, the only thing the change is very difficult now to find those kind of folks to teach these programs in our schools. When it comes to getting a highly qualified teacher, you're competing for 4 or 5 who are really highly qualified than everybody else in the state of New Jersey. By the year 2014, NCLB says all students must be able to read on grade 11. There'll be enough teachers to teach and read on grade level by 2014. There will be a major shortage in teachers by 2014. That's national. You look at New Jersey by itself, it'll be worse than that in New Jersey. In Trenton, we have a very veteran teaching staff. Our average teacher service is 20.2 years. So you figure if a pension plan keeps changing around, that law goes through, we're going to be a ghost town here in Trenton. So we'll retire at the 25, 55 age retirement, those kinds of benefits. So our plan is succession plan to have those folks standing behind the teachers who are there, who the teachers children want to be there in our school. Our retention rate is very high. We don't lose teachers. We have a wonderful plan. You go on the internet and go to NewJerseyHire.com and pretend you're an applicant applying to New Jersey, coming to Trenton. You'll see a wonderful website for Trenton Public Schools. That was just done this past year working with College of New Jersey. We're one of 4 schools who gets this here project all the way. We do New Jersey Hire website. If you want to get folks to look at Trenton and see what we can offer, there's a wonderful website there. So we'll have a wonderful welcome speech to those prospective applicants coming into Trenton. You see some of our highlights going on. We have wonderful science labs in some of our schools. We've been advertising that. What gets people to come to our school district after we reimburse tuition reimbursement? We'll pay you to come here and go back to school and still more learning in certain areas. We'll do that at the College of New Jersey rates. We also pay 100% of your benefits. That's why we're paying for improvement if people come to our school system. The major concern right now is looking at what they hear that is not happening in Trenton, to try to overcome those kind of situations. But once they get here, they stay. But they'll say, oh, you know what? I went over to Catwater. It's a wonderful place. I invite applicants to come in. Come take a look at it. Come see one of our schools. Come visit. Come talk to our people. Come talk to our students. We're going to make sure everyone who comes in this year will do a demonstration lesson how to teach their classes. We'll do a 20-minute demonstration lesson before they get onto the position here. What we're finding is that people want to come in here. I've been dying to teach an urban environment. That's my goal for life. They can't handle it. When I recruit, when I do it, most of my, and the thing about it, when you go to recruitment fairs, the majority of the people there are non-minorities. When you look at the percentage of people going into education, it's less than 2% are minorities going into the teaching profession. They want to make a whole lot more money than coming into teaching. So they don't go into our teaching profession. We have at the high school Teachers of America, FTA. Do you know that New Jersey Congress will give us 4 scholarships for that program? We have 4 of our students say, yes, I want to become a teacher. They get 4 full-fledged scholarships from College of New Jersey. We don't promote our profession here, so I'm looking at those kind of things that happen. That's about recruitment. When it comes to looking at how we treat our staff when they do come, who all staff is supported in this field, it's a matter of where they are, how they are. So our biggest concern is how our adults behave in front of our students. Our adults sometimes are worse than our students. So we're looking at how we can really train our adults from soup to nuts, from our lunchroom aid to our bus aid to the tippy top of our structure here, can behave in a manner that will be expected for our students to model behind. And that's where we come from right now, because the adults make a difference how our students behave. They model behavior to the adults do. And as we go through trying to make sure we are communicating, making sure things are well, that's how their goal is well too. When it comes to trying to recruit people to come to Trenton, we're trying to be in the 21st century. By July 1, we'll have an online application process where you'll no longer come and get all this paper to apply for a job at the board office. We'll have 4 computer stations right there in the board lobby. Human resources, you can sit there, plug the application, and it goes through, you get an automatic response when you sleep your application. We'll do that. We try to look from closer within our district, which really, there's a word called entitlement. Longevity does not mean you are entitled to a job in a district. And I don't mean to be negative. All I'm trying to say is that we welcome those who have stayed a very long time in our district. We appreciate that and we want that to happen. But when you apply for a job, and you must come as hungry as someone who hasn't even been in our district to apply for that job. As you said, Ms. Barkley, thinking out of the box. You come for these job interviews. If you've been there 15, 20 years, you know what's going on. Bring your ideas and say how you can help improve what's happening there. Don't say the same old, because we know what's happening there. So what I try and do, to my way of doing it, let's talk about how we interview and apply for jobs in our own district. We want to promote from within, because you already know the system, you know what we're confronted with, you know how to deal with our children, you know them. They don't frighten you in some cases. So our job is to get you there and get out of the mindset of being entitled to a job because you've been there for a long time. You know, one of my favorite lines is, why do you want to work for Trenton Public Schools? Give me a call, some of the answers, I'll get to that question. Boy, I've been here 35 years, that's why. That's not why you want to work here. I want to make a difference. I can do it. I've seen this happen, and I'll bring this to the table. We need more of that. But through the process of trying to recruit, again, those people who want to be in our district, who want to take care of our children, who want to teach our children, who believe in our children, that's getting more difficult. It's getting more and more difficult. Not because they don't want to. They can't get across the bridge to get here. And by that I mean, we have a lot of first-year students are coming out. They don't look like me. They're not brown like me at all. A lot of very idealistic young people who read about teaching an urban environment in a book,
That's right.
And we're a theoretical approach to how to teach urban students who know nothing about the lives of these children who live in urban environments. So when they come into the school, they want to use their theory learned in that last class. I'm told to come in and say, good morning, class. I'm told to come in and say, how are you today, class? I'm told, but they don't know how. So when we get these first-year students, we have to go through a whole lot of professional development, that Andrew's talking about, to help them, because a lot of them have the content knowledge, but not the social skill to make for our children in those classrooms. So the biggest challenge for us is to attract those students, first-year students, even some who've been out there in a while, to at least know how to have the content, deliver the content, more important, make our children want to learn about the content they're teaching. We have many alternate routes for teachers in our schools who are teaching math and science. That means they're not going through a 4-year preparation program for teaching. They've had a business background, they've taken the practical exam, they are engineers. So they want to come in and teach math and science to our children. It's great you have 15 adults around the table like this, and they want to be in that meeting, because then that promotion did how they do that project. Put 15-year-olds around the table who don't want to be in that class in the first place, and they disappear on us. It's leading to why we have so many vacancies this time of the year. It's a great idea. They want to come in, I want to teach the children, I want to be a teacher. After that first time I walk in that classroom, and that one student looks at them, that hat turned around the head and says, you know, blanky, 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 they can't handle that. They want to resign. Okay. They don't have a comeback for those children. I don't know how many males I've had come into my office and cry and say they've never quit anything, but they can't handle teaching kids. And I said, why? Well, I thought, well, you thought was wrong. What have you done to help these kids know who you are in the class? So all I'm saying is that we have, this school year began on September 5th, 2006. We had every single core course ready to be filled by a highly qualified teacher at the beginning of that school year. By the end of September, buddy, we had 10 vacancies. Because people may think they want to teach. They may think they know how to do it. They may think they've learned the theory. They think they know how to say the right kind of thing. But when it doesn't happen, they don't have plan B, C, D, E, or F, or G. So it takes that way. You know, I encourage anybody coming to the classroom, stay a day at a time, be a teacher for one day. Just try it one day. And teach those 6 periods a day and see how you feel at the end of that day. I'll tell you, go to the preschool class. I haven't just to the high school yet. I'll tell you, go to the preschool class. Okay? Do that for a day. And then come out to yourself off. All I'm saying is that we do try and put highly qualified, because since I've been here, May of 2002, people coming in will have the certification to be where they're supposed to be. Because they're tracking down the certification fee. We just had a criminal history audit about fingerprinting in our district. It's an audit that went back 21 years. And I said, 21 years? Initially, they said we had over 600 problems with our fingerprints. All employees coming in. By the time they got down, we had about 360. I thought it was over 21 years. That's pretty good, my book. And we'll probably be able to resolve some of those. So we're being audited from all kinds of avenues. They ask our mentoring program. How to mentor our first-year teachers? Do we provide with mentors? Yes, we do. We're doing a whole mentor program, a whole mentor booklet right now for our first-year teachers. Now the plan to make sure they come in, they're going to have all the methods. They're going to have what they have to do when it comes to teaching our children. We're trying to prepare everybody what's going on. And constantly here, we do have books for our students in those classrooms. The teacher will come and be able to distribute books to students. So we are trying to recruit and make sure we retain those teachers who want to be there. Trying to develop those teachers who've been there a while, who have administrative papers, who go into leadership positions. We want to encourage those who know what's there to be there to help lead our children's different pathways. So hiring is a whole art in itself these days. Even though we're very competitive when it comes to our first step of our salary guide, we're at $43,000 a year right now for a first-year teacher with no experience. Through our contract, through our bargaining, we can look at those who are hard to fill positions. We can come down the guide a little bit more. for those in science, math, and we teach other handicap. We can exercise our right to go down to a higher salary for no experience, so we can be competitive that way. But more importantly, make sure that when teachers get to our schools, that's where they want to be. I went to a recruitment fair and they said, we heard you had gangs in Trenton. There's gangs everywhere. There's gangs in Princeton. I said, what? Oh, yeah, gangs in Princeton too. You're going to find a gang. But the thing is, gangs are outside, students are inside, they want to come to learn. You want to be in there, it's fine. The hardest to fill right now is looking at maintaining our food service workers. They're very important in how we get our kids going in the mornings. They're very key positions. They come to us and leave us.
How much are they making an hour?
They're on a salary guide now, food service workers. So if you're sub, you make about $11.50 an hour. If you're sub food service, so you have a salary benefits. We give our food service full benefits.
You get full benefits, they're making $11.50 an hour, and they have to come with no criminal background, no past history.
That's correct.
That's why you're having a challenge.
Oh, believe me, we get a lot of reports back with everybody. You got to go immediately. We get a lot of that. We do.
Yeah. That's what makes it so difficult.
It is. But also, we talk about our students. We need to encourage our students to stay and work in our system. Through our mechanical labor, for our bargaining, we have an apprenticeship program that we've not really exercised to teach our students some trades. And that's part of the bargaining agreement. So we need to make sure we encourage them to come back and be a part of our school. Remember now, as paraprofessionals, they have at least 45 college credits to be a paraprofessional in our school because it goes behind. It goes beyond just having a high school diploma. You have to have at least 45 college credits now. That's by law, not federal history law, state and federal law. I've been accused of making these laws. I don't make my implement as enforcement. Any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Gibson?
Ms. Gibson, I want to talk a little bit about the retention of your teachers. When we talk about a mentoring program, is there a mentor at every school? Are they called mentors? Do you have, or have you ever had master teachers?
We've not had master teachers. Everyone's called a mentor. We've had a mentor in the school where the first year teacher is working. Should be in the same course of that person is within that same area the teacher's working as a mentor.
Have you ever found that in your recruitment efforts, is there ever a concern about relocating to Trenton? Has anyone ever brought up the issue of housing issues or things of that nature?
Oh yeah, I think I even booked the idea to do at one point. When we go down to some of our historically black colleges, some of the colleges in the South, even up in North Jersey, we just go stay in New Jersey pretty much. But we're relocating down to our area about the cost of housing and where to live. I had said to Ms. Satan that apartment behind the board office. Once we had that, redevelop it and give it a rent, a low rent for first year, second year teachers to offer them housing to come to Trenton. Or something like that. We can say, we can let recruit and say, you know what? I need 10 science teachers. I can offer you 10 people right now who are highly qualified, certified in science, to come to Trenton. I can offer you fair housing as far as nice low rent. You stay there for your first year, if you gain tenure, you're good to go. I have a wonderful recruitment tool to do that.
Is that almost like affordable housing?
Affordable housing, yes.
Attractive.
If you said a first year teacher making $43,000 a year, could be able to afford $600 a month rent, pay his or her own utilities, and still live. Okay? If you got to pay $1,400 and $1,500 a month, you can't live. Okay? So we can get affordable housing for our first year teachers, so they can get that discount rate for deferred loans if you come to urban cities. So they get the loans deferred, so the loans canceled out, if they do those kind of things. And we offer them also affordable housing. We got a recruitment tool.
I know.
Okay.
Now, in fact, there was some time ago, there's cousins involved in the teacher next door, but they actually had history enrollment in it for their history because they knew the housing was a good tool, a good recruitment tool, and helping to get. Do you know if that's still in effect?
I don't know. I haven't heard much about it at all, so I don't think it. I'm not sure. I don't really see that.
And I also want to give you a clear reference. One time I was talking to Dr. Page, who's running the system, and he talked about years ago when the district was really in need of teachers, and he would go south and recruit the teachers in the historically black colleges, and he would find them rooms. They would just stay with family in Trenton until they died. But because it was just so important that with the composition of the district changing, with more minority students, that there was a real commitment from the district to make those teachers more sensitive and more similar to the students that they were serving. And that's what he did for quite a few years.
I asked the change rule, we can get 10 families willing to take in first year teachers for the first year like that. We can have houses. We can go out with food to a variety of places. We can have some families willing to put them up for a year or so. So I'm open to those kinds of recommendations. That's a wonderful we put in the tool. You have a freedom? Thank you. Thank you.
I think you have 4 people around the table. I think the beauty and management, the team.
I'm housing the teacher break.
Oh, you tell me, I'll use it as one of my tools. I got a house for you, folks.
You can go let Mr. Bethea pull your leg.
I didn't hear his name mentioned, though.
I know. Thank you very much for your time. Certainly enlightened us in the HR area.
Oh, can you report on the job fair you had first? Oh, okay. On Tuesday, May 1st, we had a job fair. We had 473 applicants coming through. Of that, we had 174 were teacher applicants, and 35 were administrative applicants. The rest were security officers, custodians, and some lunchers coming in. So we had 473. We're going to call back several of some teaching, specific lessons for some teaching in classroom courses.
Would you have data available? Could you tell me how many were Trenton residents?
I can look at that for you. I haven't had a chance to look at the data yet. We can do that. We can do that.
Let's wrap it up.
Some of the other ones too. So the teacher ones too. We're talking about. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Gibson. Unless Ms. State has anything else to ask you.
I do have a question for them.
Okay, we're good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Affordable.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Ms. What's anything else for the record?
Come back to the phone.
Staff, anything you want to add? No?
What?
I think we're going to wrap it up now. Okay.
Okay.
At this point, I just say thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. You know, some of the programs and some of the things that we're supporting with the budget and with the tax levy and other
Do
things.
you have to report that to DOE that in terms of the completion of your budget?
It has been accepted by DOE
Okay.
and it was approved on April 30th.
Okay. There is a resolution. If you actually make a motion. Are there any questions with regards to the motion made by Ms. James with regards to the $21 million tax levy? School board estimate? Seeing no motion, seeing no questions? All in favor, is there a second to the motion? Second. Second by Mr. Bethea. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes. Carson. Yes. Yes.
Yes. You voted number thing, Ms. Ortega?
You don't know. Say yes. It's a good one. It's a good yes. It's a good yes. Go ahead. It's a yes.
Okay, Ms. Worski, thank you. Please thank Superintendent Lawson. Let me take this opportunity to thank all of your staff, all the wonderful staff for taking time to come out here, to listen to some poignant conversations and questions. We believe in you. We hope our kids believe in you. And okay, you might, it sounds like Mr. Day wants to put the Board of Education on a 100-day schedule. We'll talk about that. Thank you very much.
We'd like to see you back, all of you.
Thank you.
We're much better news than now.
No, it always is.
We're still in session. Ladies and gentlemen.
I'm so glad.
Strut on out. He danced right on that table.
Yes, he did. Yes, sir.
right, what's the first one? Public comment? Motion to enter into public comment?
Second.
Hey, Bev.
Anyone wishing to address the public, may do so at this time. Yes, sir. Mr. Clark, please state your name and address for the record. Give me 1 second, Mr. Clark.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're still in session, okay? Disrespect our citizens.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the City Council. My name is Dion Clark. I live 323 Walnut Avenue.
Yes, sir.
The East Ward and Wilbur section. First of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Assistant Director of Public Works, Mr. Allen, for a job well done in Wilbur section today. I appreciate that, Mr. Allen. Secondly, I'd like to say something to the City Council.
You want to tell us what he did? We know you appreciate
Well,
it.
he did some cleaning up for me.
Okay.
Some things that's been long neglected. He took care of it today within an hour. So I know it can be done. I was in his office this morning at 11 o'clock, and by 1:30, it was all done. So we was greatly appreciative.
These are issues you had informed the public works about?
Yes, and I went to him again today and mentioned it back, and they was already in the neighborhood, so he told them to go on over there.
How outstanding were the issues?
Well, one of them was about, how long, Mr. Allen? A week and a half, high grass.
That was the longest one?
Yeah, something like that, but it could have been longer if I hadn't stayed on top of things, because in the past it's been months. Secondly, with the school board, I would like to see an elected school board. Put it back into the people's hands and let the people elect, just like we elected you guys to your office as council members. I think that would be a big help, because I'm a staunch supporter of Mayor Palmer, but sometimes when you put certain people in there, they come complacent and they get down and they just do whatever they want to do. That's what the problem is. Thirdly of all, I heard Ms. Gibson, different people say about qualifications and this and that. We have a gentleman here by the name of Dr. Nichols, who's just as qualified as anybody over there at that building on Clinton Avenue. It's people like him that we need to lead our children and be an administrator and an educator to them. He's the man for the job, and I'm going to keep saying it. Just like everyone knows my situation with my child, which I was the first one to come public with him being a gang member, the problems at Trenton High, security and all that, and tragically 3 weeks later my child was shot. And from all my hooping, hollering, and beating and screaming, it didn't mean nothing. But people like Dr. Nichols who can relate and communicate with these children and deal with the crisis and the things that goes on in today's world that I'm not ready to accept and deal with, people like him that makes the difference. That's why we need people like him to lead our children. Now, he can play politics, and I don't like him or I don't like the way he do business. That doesn't mean nothing. We need people like Dr. Nichols. And last, I found something in the newspaper today about rental properties. I heard they brought up about rental. New Jersey's the 4th most expensive state in the nation when it comes to renting property. The average income to be able to afford to pay for a 2-bedroom apartment is $20 an hour, which comes out to $43,000 per year. More than half, 53% of all New Jersey renters are not able to afford a modest 2-bedroom apartment. A report from the National Low Income Housing Coalition is cited that fair market rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in New Jersey is over $1,000. Mr. President, again, I'd like for you to let me know when this administration is going to come forward with something how to deal with these slum landlords and what my issue is on the Department of Inspections. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the council? Yes, sir. Mr. Brocade, please state your name and address for the record, please.
Donald Brocade, 104 Cornwall Avenue.
Yes, sir.
Last Thursday, I brought up an issue about some of the boards and the commissions, and after the meeting, I was speaking to someone, and they mentioned that that volunteerism is down in the city. Well, volunteerism may be down in the city, but I did a little recruiting last week, and I've come up with several people who would be more than happy to serve on some boards and commissions when some of the long-term members' tenures are up. So, and I'm still working on it. So I would love to do that. And these are people who have a vested interest in the city. Many of them were raised here, and they are interested in becoming a part of the process to make a difference. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Brooke. Anyone else who's addressed?
Mr. President, you never answered my question.
Your question
Was about when the administration is going to be ready. 2 weeks ago, you and the Chief of Staff, she said she was ready to come forward with some type of presentation. So another 2 weeks then passed. When are we going to come forward with something?
Another 2 weeks. Within that 2 weeks, we had floods, school emergencies.
Not in the last 2 weeks, we
No,
didn't.
I'm saying, just over time, issues change and some things become more of a priority. Not to say that that's not a priority. Ms. Haynes, are you ready for a presentation at this point in time?
Yes, I'm ready to schedule a date.
We'll schedule that. We'll schedule
it. I would like to see some of this low affordable housing out in the Hiltonian and those neighborhoods.
We don't have rental housing in our
Well, it should have some.
Okay, Mr. Clark, thank you
Okay,
very much.
okay.
We got one question, okay?
Well, I hope so.
Did someone else want to speak?
Yes.
I mean, you disrespected her.
No, I'm not.
Okay, well, you want to...
I'm shutting up. Go on, you can speak.
You want to respect everybody?
Okay.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address.
My name is Beverly Jones. I live at 152 Hickory Corner Road in East Windsor, New Jersey.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to speak because I am the person who filed the complaint in reference to problems at Sherman Avenue.
Yes, ma'am.
And there's some items that the council might not know, and because I filed a complaint, I think that I need, since the city of Trenton employed me for 32 years, I believe that there's certain issues that I need to tell this body that you might not know. We are hearing about falsification of records, but that's not the only issue. There were a lot of different things that were going on that created a deliberate and unethical and illegal attempt to not educate the students in Sherman. And I made a list of 8 items. And it goes to the point of the falsification, but there were other items. For example, number 1, Sherman Avenue students did not provide an appropriate curriculum, course of study, nor classes necessary for students to move to the next grade level, as dictated by law. It is a violation of the law to deny children movement to the next level upon successful completion of their program of study. 10th graders who had previously passed 9th grade were forced to repeat classes, which is in a violation of the law. Students were denied the proper supplies, resources, and other things to be successful. Teachers were denied proper and adequate instructional tools to instruct students. The Trenton School District failed to provide a safe, secure, healthy, enriched, and nurturing environment for Sherman students. The septic tank leaked for the entire 10 months of 2004-2005. Students and staff became ill due to the septic fumes. Transcripts, as you know, and report cards were altered to include non-existent courses at the Sherman campus. Gaps in the former Sherman Avenue students' education exist. Chunks of knowledge are thus missing from the students' education because courses mandated by New Jersey Department of Education were not offered, and courses that were not offered were listed on the transcripts. Teachers were silenced with the horrendous conditions, teachers were silenced about the horrendous conditions and lack of leadership at Sherman. Teachers who advocated for the students reported the gaps in the children's education, inefficiencies of the campus, and lack of a solid, authentic educational program were harassed. So there are a large number of things that were going on at Sherman, not just the falsification of records. That was the end result. Thank you.
Who was the principal? I'm sorry.
There was a vice principal, Mr. Melvin Cummings. The principal was Priscilla Dawson.
Oh, what a surprise.
When she left to take a position as assistant superintendent of schools in charge of secondary ed, she was still overseeing Sherman Avenue. Miss Marie Azzaro was the principal, interim principal, who took Priscilla's place. However, Mrs. Dawson still had an impact on, well, she was over secondary ed, and Sherman was a part of secondary ed. Another point I wanted to make is those people are on administrative suspension with pay, and I've heard that they're on administrative leave without pay because no charges have been filed against them. And until, according to law, which is true, until charges are filed, the individual must continue to be paid. I have also been told that the report that took a year for NJDOE to finalize was not good enough for the attorney for the board to come up with charges and evidence. I was also told they did not have the evidence. Well, I'm not a lawyer, but I'll look at charge number 1, the denial of promotion of 10th graders. That violates New Jersey SA 18A, 7F-4. Evidence, student transcripts. Charge 2, failing to provide appropriate courses for the advancement of students. NJSA 18A, 7F-4. Evidence, roster of courses offered at Sherman. Charge 3, having awareness of the deficiencies and issues of noncompliance and abrogating the responsibility to act responsibly. Statute, New Jersey, SA 18A, 7F-4. Evidence, school board minutes, Trenton Central High School leadership minutes, document exhibit WW from Trenton Board of Ed versus Beverly Jones tenure charges. Interviews conducted by NJDOE, Office of Compliance and Investigation. Charge 4, relocating special education students to the Sherman Avenue campus without replacement instruction in science and electives as required by their IEPs, Code New Jersey SA 6A, also New Jersey SA 18A, 7F-4. Evidence, transcripts. Charge 5, authorizing the falsification of student records. Code New Jersey SA 18A, 7F-4. Evidence, New Jersey Department of Education investigation report. Thank you.
Because do you have a copy of that?
Okay, everyone, yeah.
Yes, please. And if we may, immediately, we'll respond to Mr. Jones in writing, one, that the council received it, and two,
Yes.
we'll notify the superintendent, and this policy he has for openness.
Does the lawyer also saw that?
No, I'm not a lawyer.
No, the lawyer, the school lawyer. Did he see that?
This material?
Yes. Well,
No, wait a minute. I am a teacher on suspension. However, I know what happened over there. I went into the report. I looked at the codes that were listed. I looked at the inefficiencies that were listed. You take them, you put them into charges, you list the codes, and then you list the evidence. I'm saying the attorney for the board, I'm sure he could do a better job than I can, but I've been told that they can't find any charges in that report. They can't find any evidence in that report. Well, I'm telling you, well, maybe this is bogus, but it sounds pretty good to me, and it sounds like it's coming from the NJDOE report. So maybe he'll say, well, Ms. Jones is not a lawyer, what does she know? Well, I took the codes from NJDOE.
are you suspended? Why?
Well, it's a long story. It's a long story.
No,
It's too long. It's too long.
I know why the others are suspended. I want to know why she's suspended.
I am suspended for,
I think I can know.
I'm on tenure charges for insubordination and behavior unbecoming.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
But
That's not all.
That's not related to this matter, though.
No, it's, well, let's see. You can have exhibit WW out of my tenure charges as evidence against me. I pulled it out of my tenure charges. And this evidence says, it's a letter to the Trenton School Board members, Dr. Lytle, It was supposed to come here, but I don't know if you guys got it. I came down here to speak about Sherman during the 2004-2005 school year. And I know I took a copy of this letter, and I gave every board member one. I took it to the basement, the mailroom. And this particular document is stamped June 14th during the Sherman school year, the year I was at Sherman. It's listed as Exhibit WW as evidence against me, and it talks about, number one, sophomores were placed at the Sherman Avenue Annex, and it goes on. Number two, other students were also forced to duplicate classes. Number three, special needs students were transferred from another annex and placed in the Sherman site. Now, this is supposed to be evidence against me. I guess because I said that the above issues negatively impacted the students' education. The ISLLC Standard 3 for school leaders was not adhered to by Mrs. Dawson. The students' educational program, success, health, safety were not adhered to. In fact, Mrs. Dawson was negligent in her duties as principal at Trenton Central High School. She reneged on her duty to the students, took advantage of the students, their parents, and the Trenton community, and displayed no respect for the Trenton community and its stakeholders. Never once did she visit the students at Trenton. She treated them like castaways. It was Dawson's responsibility to ensure that the students received supplemental instructional materials and instruction so that they could be adequately prepared for their return to the main campus. In conclusion and in summary, Mrs. Dawson established a setting designed to set these students up for failure and has no remorse about it. She has done nothing to correct the situation. The students are distraught, and most have stopped coming to school. And this, you can have this too. This is evidence against me. Exhibit WW, out of my tenure drawings. I'm done.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
You're quite welcome.
We can get a copy. We'll get a copy. Anyone else wishing to address council? So we have a motion in order to close public comment.
Ms. Jones.
Motion to close.
No, we're going to-
City matters,
I say mine for executive session.
Mr. Costa?
Yeah, 611 Little League is having a function this Saturday. We got something about it. They asked the city for some tables. They're having a huge turnout. We need 20 tables, and I heard that we're not getting them. I want to know, they're getting 6. I want to know why we can't give them 20.
The challenge with that actually is, Council, they're actually going to get 20 tables. They actually asked for 35. Our challenge is that when we built that park, we put 4 built in the area. The tables that they're asking for, that they're requesting, weigh about 200 pounds, and my staff can only take 4 of them at a time, which would mean to take 35 of them, we'd have to make somewhere close to 9 trips, which would take almost a full day because it takes almost 40 minutes back and forth. So what we did was we said we'll give them 8 tables, we'll make 2 trips, and then we'll get them 8 more fold-up tables and 30 chairs. And they will have 20 tables out there at that particular time.
That goes to the next question about being understaffed. If you're able to hire more folks, you should get more tables out.
Well, in order to take the tables, it still would be that particular staff that is going to take them.
Try to round them up some more tables. I also want to find out about speed bumps. Had a 4-year-old struck on Grand Street last weekend. Second time a child's been struck on that strip between Beatty and Chestnut. And the residents are a little tired of that. I told them that I would see about getting stop signs placed at Grand and Malone as well as Grand and Chestnut. But I wanted to find out what the statute was regarding speed bumps. They're ready to take up a petition. I think they can probably get 100% signatures. But I certainly don't want them to waste their efforts. What's the process for speed bumps?
We've done a number of presentations on speed bumps. It may have been prior to you being on council. By and large, I, as the Director of Public Works, along with the Director of Police and Director of Fire, have grossly advocated against speed bumps on city streets because the negative impact far outweighs what we believe are the positive impacts. What we have done is try to offer alternative traffic calming issues, if you will, or components to streets to help slow down the traffic, combined with efforts from the Trenton Police Department to do better enforcement if that is seemingly the issue with people speeding. One of the things that we have found in most cases, and I would hope that the community there where you're referring to would understand it, most times when the police go out and put the speed monitors up, those that they catch are those from the very community that complain about the problem, who are by and large the folks that speed up and down their own streets. I'm happy to look at it. We'll coordinate the effort and look at what traffic calming modules we can put in place. But speed bump is one that I still hope the city and this body will still not do with our city streets.
Yeah, I told them that emergency services
Absolutely
is not a fan of it, as others ones. But in order to pursue, they already started a petition. I told them to wait until we look at the stop signs. It is legal to put a speed bump on a municipal road.
Yes, it is. The municipality to which installs it accepts full responsibility and liability for anything that would be caused, or any accident that would be caused by that particular.
Is it up to your discretion whether or not it gets put there? Is there? I know in terms of changing some issues like the direction for a one-way street, you need a petition and so forth. I mean,
under, I don't believe, fairly sure there's no ordinance at this point for that. That's why we've done a number of workshops before this body, trying to outline the pros and cons. Petitions typically have come before me.
Let me interject.
Yes.
To remind you, skip your mind, but if you will recall, we developed a petition specifically for the issue of speed bumps.
That's what I was going to.
Which, when the resident signs it, they acknowledge it, they recognize that this may slow emergency services to their homes, it may slow fire services, or it may hamper the issue of snow removal. That and that they understand that going into an accident, it may be certain noise matters, depending on who's in proximity of where the speed bump is placed. All of that, they were asked to acknowledge that they fully are aware of, and that they understand the liabilities that they may face, and the problems with certain emergency services that they may encounter in signing this.
I explained to them that there's parking, the files will not come down the street. Apparently it's not a problem on Grand Street at present.
Not until we put them there.
I said the police will be slow to come, and ambulances, and don't let your house burn down too much before I call. And it could very well be the immediacy of the situation. A child's struck, they want to fix it.
I think, if I can respond, I think looking at what traffic calming issues we can do in concert with the Trenton Police Department is the best effective method to address it.
Well, if you keep me advised on what you think would work for that area, as well as possible stop signs, I think that's good. And I'm going to contact the police about seeing if they can get